Chapter 342. 342 Chapter 342 Experts. Benefits in Tianjua. What benefits did the 10-direction sword sect give you? Aren't you afraid that the 10-direction sword sect will unify the Blazing Sun Empire and become stronger, and then target the Yin Moon Empire? Oh. Lin Shui looked at Yin Tianjua and asked. Haha, there's no harm in telling you. It turns out that the territory of the Ghost Moon Saber sect belongs to my Yin Moon Empire. Yin Tianjua laughed. What? The 10-direction sword sect is betraying our country. Lin Shui roared. The 10-direction sword sect had actually given the Ghost Moon Saber sect's territory to the Yin Moon Empire, which was equivalent to 1/5 of the Blazing Sun Empire's territory. The 10-direction sword sect was using all their means. Lin Shui, this is a win-win situation. Alright, your mystical sword sect is destined to be destroyed. Kill. Yin Tianjua ordered. Buzz. Buzz. Dozens of figures flew out from the back of the giant centipede and charged toward the mystical sword sect. Instantly, dozens of mystical sword sect disciples were killed. These people were all top-notch experts. The weakest of them was at the 6th level of the martial arts Grandmaster realm, and 3 of them were at the 9th level. As soon as he made his move, the situation changed drastically, and the mystical sword sect was at a disadvantage. Yin Tianjua didn't make a move. His target was Lin Shui. Duanmu Songhai, why don't we join forces and kill Lin Shui? Yin Tianjua sneered. Just what I wanted. Duanmu Songhai's murky eyes revealed a cold glint. Boom! Boom! Their auras exploded and swept across the world. The clouds in the sky were turned into dust by their auras. Buzz! Lin Shui's upper lever 4 combat sword let out a soft cry, and a beam of sword chi shot up into the sky. He looked at Duanmu Songhai and Yin Tianjua with a serious expression. Facing 2 half-step king warriors, he had no confidence at all. He knew that he had to go all out today, or else the mystical sword sect would be in danger. Kill! Kill! Duanmu Songhai and Yin Tianjua shouted in unison, each of them launching a move. Duanmu Songhai used a sword while Yin Tianjua used a battle spear. The 2 attacks advanced side by side and headed towards Lin Shui. Profound heavenly sword technique. Lin Shui let out a long cry, and her entire body seemed to have transformed into a divine sword. Sword intent filled the air, and a brilliant sword light seemed to have come from beyond the heavens as it violently slashed out. Boom! Boom! 2 earth-shaking rumbles spread out for hundreds of miles. If one looked up from below, one could see that the entire sky was covered in sword chi and spear light. The space trembled and it was extremely terrifying. Whoosh! The next moment, a figure retreated frantically. Due to its speed, it created an air wave that was thousands of meters long. It was Lin Shui. She retreated a few thousand meters, groaned, and spat out a mouthful of blood. Lin Shui, you are no match for the 2 of us. Today you are dead. Yin Tianjua sneered. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. Lin Shui's eyes flashed with madness. Drag us down with you? Haha, Lin Shui, you think too highly of yourself. Die. Yin Tianjua laughed loudly, his aura like a mountain as he charged towards Lin Shui. At the same time, Duanmu Songhai also attacked Lin Shui. Boom! Boom! Another 2 earth-shaking rumbles sounded, and Lin Shui was forced back again. She coughed out blood and her face was pale. He was completely outmatched by 2 experts of the same realm. He was completely suppressed. They were both half-kings, and they had both cultivated their controlling force to the extreme. They were both at the peak of the Blazing Sun Empire and the Yinhua Empire. Who could be worse than the other? It was impossible for Shui Lin to be a match for the 2. Haha, Lin Shui, die. Yin Tianjua howled as his battle spear pierced through the air, turning into a huge spear that was a few hundred meters long as it flew towards Lin Shui. Lin Shui, let this old man send you off. Duanmu Songhai laughed coldly as his sword light shook the sky. Boundless energy burst forth from his aged body. A sword light slashed towards Lin Shui. At this moment, buzz! Heaven and earth shook violently as a saber flare slashed over from the void in the distance. The blade light was hundreds of meters long and black in color. The most shocking thing was that when the blade light cut through the void, A series of shrill screams rang out, as if countless evil ghosts were screaming. The target of this blade light was Yin Tianjue, Ghost King Purgatory / Yin Tianjue cried out in alarm as his expression changed. He immediately shouted and forcefully changed the direction of his battle spear to attack the blade light. With a loud boom, Yin Tianjue's body trembled slightly as he took a few steps back. Every step he took caused a loud boom in the air. Buzz! The blade light dissipated and an old man wearing a black robe with a black moon embroidered on it appeared in the air. Shangguan, it's you! Yin Tianjue's face was dark. Ghost Moon Saber-Sect's old ancestor, Shangguan Ming. Lin Xue's face was filled with joy. He had thought that the Ghost Moon Saber Sect had been destroyed and Shangguan Ming had died in battle. Now it seemed that Shangguan Ming had not died. Old Shangguan, I didn't kill you last time. This time you've come to die. This is the will of heaven. Yin Tianjue sneered. Yin Tianjue and the 10 Direction Sword Sect. Even if I have to risk my life, I will not let you succeed. Shangguan Ming's face was full of hatred. The Ghost Moon Saber Sect had been annihilated, and he had always wanted to take revenge. Shangguan Ming, you're an old bag of bones. You should go earlier. At this moment, a cold voice came from the distance. Then a slender figure with his hands behind his back stepped through the air. In an instant it appeared in front of him. Qiu Wuyang. Lin Xue and Shangguan Ming's expressions changed. Qiu Wuyang, the head of the 10 Direction Sword Sect, was actually nearby. Shangguan Ming, I knew that you would not give up and would always want to take revenge. That's why I didn't make a move just now. I wanted to lure you out and get rid of you both at the same time. Qiu Wuyang said lightly. His body flashed and together with Duanmu Songhai and Yin Tianjue, they formed a triangle and surrounded Lin Xue and Shangguan Ming. Lin Xue and Shangguan Ming were leaning against each other, their expressions extremely ugly. Qiu Wuyang had planned everything out, and the mystical sword sect had no chance of survival. Ah! At this moment a long howl came from below, piercing through the sky. Lin Xue and the others couldn't help but look in that direction. Over there, Feng Wuji and Duanmu Lin were fighting. But at this moment, Feng Wuji was no match for Duanmu Lin. He was covered in blood and one of his arms was broken by Duanmu Lin's palm. Haha, Feng Wuji, you're not the strongest man in the mystical sword sect. You're just a piece of trash. If I was born a few years earlier, you wouldn't even be able to stand out. Duanmu Lin laughed loudly. His aura was wild, and his cultivation had actually reached the 4th level of the martial ancestor realm. Boom! Duanmu Lin's saber slashed out, and Feng Wuji barely managed to block it. He was sent flying for over 1,000 meters as blood spurted out of his mouth. Wuji! In the sky, Lin Xue was extremely worried. Lin Xue, you've already lost. Even among the younger generation, the Duanmu family's geniuses are enough to crush you. The mystical sword sect should have been ruled by someone else a long time ago. Duanmu Songhai laughed coldly. Chapter 343. 343 The arrival of the Marquis Champion. Lin Xue's face was extremely gloomy. Oh, Lin Xue, I heard that Feng Wuji is the disciple you're most proud of. I'll let you watch your disciple die in front of you. Qiu Wuyang sneered. At this moment they were not in a hurry to attack. They wanted Lin Xue to watch as Feng Wuji was killed. This way Lin Xue's mind would be crushed and it would be easier to kill her. Feng Wuji, today will be your doomsday. Duanmu Lin's long hair fluttered in the wind, and he was in high spirits. His entire person was filled with an aura of supremacy. His eyes were bright and full of arrogance. Boom! Duanmu Lin slashed out another saber, and the saber light was extremely sharp. Feng Wuji tried his best to defend, but he was heavily injured and was no match for Duanmu Lin. His body was sent flying like a cannonball and a long gash appeared on his chest. Wuji! Senior brother Wuji! Countless people from the mystical sword sect shouted when they saw this. They wanted to rush over to help, but everyone had an opponent. They were entangled by their opponents and couldn't help at all. Ha ha ha! High up in the sky, Qiu Wuyang, Duanmu Songhai and Yin Tianjue laughed out loud. Below Feng Wuji and Duanmu Lin's battlefield, a few figures were looking up. One of them, with a graceful bearing, was Lu Yao. The others were experts from the Duanmu family and were responsible for protecting her. Lu Yao was here to witness the rise of Duanmu Lin. At this moment, Lu Yao's eyes had a hint of complexity. She was also a little stunned by the Duanmu family's betrayal of the mystical sword sect. But on second thought, she felt relieved. That's even better. If the Duanmu family replaces the mystical sword sect, my status will be even higher in the future. I've already cultivated to the 6th grade Great Martial Master realm, and it won't be long before I can break through to the Martial Ancestor realm. At that time, I must awaken a king-rank bloodline. That way, I can live together with Brother Lin and become a legend. Lu Ming, did you see that? Now Brother Lin had even trampled on Feng Wuji, one of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun sect. Even if you have some talent, how can you compare to Brother Lin? How can you be worthy of me? It's a pity that you're not in the mystical sword sect, so you won't be able to see this. If you were to see this, how would you feel inferior? Lu Yao looked at Duanmu Lin, who was in high spirits in the sky. His eyes were bright, full of pride and anticipation. Feng Wuji, you are the first one among the 6 heroes that I've fought. Today I will step over your dead body and rise to the top. It's your honor to be my stepping stone. In the air, Duanmu Lin looked at Feng Wuji with disdain and was in high spirits. Duanmu Lin, you won't have the chance to do so. At this moment, a clear voice came from the distance. Who is it? Duanmu Lin's eyes turned cold as he looked into the distance. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the distance, 3 beams of light shot toward them. Who's there? You're looking for death. An expert from the 10 Directions Sword School shouted and charged toward the 3 beams of light. Chi. A few claw lights flew out and several 6th grade Martial Ancestor Realm experts from the 10 Directions Sword School were torn into pieces. Buzz, buzz, and NBSP, the rainbow light vanished and 3 figures appeared in the air. It's you? The champion Ho Tianyun. As soon as the 3 figures appeared, someone shouted. Everyone in the mystical sword sect who was in the middle of a battle felt their hearts skip a beat, as they couldn't help but look over. The champion Marquis Tianyun was famous throughout the Blazing Sun Empire. However, why was he here? The 3 people who had suddenly appeared were Lu Ming, Yan Quan, and the golden-eyed blood corpse. The gazing immortal pass wasn't far from the mystical sword sect. Lu Ming led 30,000 blood-red cavalry. After more than a day of travel, they finally neared the mystical sword sect. At this moment, Lu Ming, Yan Quan, and the golden-eyed blood zombie had arrived at the mystical sword sect. Lu Ming could not help but speak up when he saw Duanmu Lin's arrogant look. Duanmu Lin's expression could not help but turn grave as he looked at Lu Ming. Duanmu Lin naturally knew of Marquis champion Lu Ming. Moreover, Lu Ming had killed Qiu Chonglai, a genius from the omnipresent sword sect. He was extremely powerful, and Duanmu Lin did not dare to underestimate him. This fellow actually managed to rush here. Where are his blood-red cavalry? Qiu Wuyang's expression changed slightly. Qiu Wuyang knew that Lu Ming had led the blood-red cavalry to the north of the Blazing Sun Empire to rescue Hua Qi. However, he had not sent anyone to deal with Lu Ming during this period of time because he had to deal with the mystical sword sect. In his eyes, Lu Ming was just a small fry. After he dealt with the mystical sword sect and the Crimson Cloud Valley, he could kill Lu Ming and his blood-red cavalry with a flip of his hand. It's him. Lin Xue's eyes moved, revealing a complicated expression. Tianyun, what are you doing here? Qiu Wuyang's voice came from the sky. I'm naturally here to kill you. Lu Ming smiled faintly. As soon as he said that, everyone's hearts trembled. To kill Qiu Wuyang and the others. What an arrogant tone. Ha ha ha, champion Ho Tianyun. You are indeed full of pride. But in my opinion, you must have been blinded by your pride. That's right, you've achieved so much at such a young age. It's normal to lose yourself. It's ridiculous that you want to kill us. How about this? I can see that you are a talent. If you join me now, I can consider putting you in an important position. In the future, you can become the Grand Marshal of the world's army and guard the Burning Sun Empire. It's not a bad idea, Qiu Wuyang said. What bullshit, Grand Marshal? Do you think I care? Qiu Wuyang, to be honest, I'm more interested in your head. Lu Ming sneered. Impudent. You're looking for death. Qiu Wuyang's face turned cold, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He waved his hand and a shocking sword radiance slashed toward Lu Ming. Qiu Wuyang, you're shameless. Lin Shui's face changed and she was about to help. Lin Shui, your opponent is me. Duanmu Songhai's figure moved and blocked Lin Shui. On the other side, Yin Tianjue was also staring at Shangguan Ming, preventing him from helping. What marquee champion? How dare you oppose this lord? You overestimate your own abilities, die. Qiu Wuyang's eyes were cold. However, facing Qiu Wuyang's sword radiance, Lu Ming's expression was very calm. He stood there without moving. It's over. The champion Ho Tianyun, a hero of his generation, is going to be killed just like that? Many people in the surroundings sighed. No one thought that Lu Ming would survive. Qiu Wuyang was a half-step king, and only a half-step king could block his attack. However, how many half-step kings did the Burning Sun Empire have? There were only a dozen of them. Who could save Lu Ming now? Then, a scene that left everyone dumbfounded appeared. Yin Quan, who was beside Lu Ming, stepped forward and threw a punch. Boom! The space trembled violently. Then, a terrifying fist radiance burst out. Chapter 344. 344. Lu Ming is back. Boom! Oh! A deafening sound rang out as the fist force and the sword radiance collided and cancelled each other out. Half-step king. That's a half-step king. Someone shouted. Many people were shocked. They did not expect that Lu Ming would have a half-step king following him. Who are you, sir? Qiu Wuyang's face turned serious. Half-step kings were all extremely famous and were the overlords of their own territories. He was very clear about the appearance of each of them, but he didn't know Yin Quan. Who am I? There's no harm in saying it. I am Yin Quan. Yin Quan parted his mouth and smiled. What? You are Yin Quan? Then this little bastard is the one who destroyed the Mo family and killed my son. As soon as Yin Quan finished speaking, Yin Tianjue roared and looked at Lu Ming with a dark expression. During this period of time, he had sent people to investigate thoroughly, but they could not find the murderer at all. They only knew that Yin Quan had escaped. Now that the flame spring had appeared here, the answer was already obvious. Yin Tianjue, what's your name? Your Dark Moon Imperial family is despicable and shameless. Today I will settle this with you. Yin Quan looked at Yin Tianjue with killing intent. He took a step forward and stood opposite Qiu Wuyang and the rest. The auras of the 6 half-step kings formed a huge domain that prevented anyone below the half-step king level from approaching. At this moment, Lu Ming looked at Duanmu Lin and smiled faintly. Duanmu Lin, I've just said that you don't have the chance to rise again. You'll die today. Tianyun, if you and I fight, both of us will suffer. I advise you to join the 10-Direction Sword School. Now that the school has formed its power, even if you have a half-step king protecting you, it won't be able to affect the overall situation. Duanmu Lin said as he stared at Lu Ming. With Tianyun's reputation right there, unless it was absolutely necessary, he was not willing to exchange blows with him. Both sides are injured? You? You really think too highly of yourself. Lu Ming revealed a mocking smile. I can defeat you in one move. Lu Ming took a step forward and closed in on Duanmu Lin. Arrogant. Let's see how you can defeat me in one move. Great Sun Thunder Blade Slash. Duanmu Lin bellowed in rage and slashed his saber. The terrifying saber radiance was even more scorching than the sun as it flew toward Lu Ming. Beast Palm. Lu Ming said softly and struck out with his palm. A huge beast claw appeared and charged toward Duanmu Lin. Bang! The beast claw collided with the blade light, and the blade light was snuffed out like a wisp of smoke. The beast Dao palm didn't stop, and it continued toward Duanmu Lin with an astonishing power. How did this happen? Duanmu Lin cried out in disbelief. Then he frantically activated his bloodline and used all his strength to slash out. Block it! Block it! Duanmu Lin let out a deep roar as his sharp blade light condensed into a sun. However, this sun was like a bubble that was destroyed by the beast Dao palm. Bang! Following that, the beast Dao Palm slapped onto Duanmu Lin's body. Duanmu Lin let out a blood-curdling screech and was sent flying over 1,000 meters away. Blood continuously spurted out of his mouth as his body trembled. His clothes were in tatters, and it was unknown how many bones in his body had been broken. In the sky, Duanmu Songhai shouted worriedly. So strong! Even overlords like Yin Tianzhu and Shangguan Ming were shocked. Lin Shui's eyes were even more complicated. So strong. Tianyun is too strong. In all directions, Yanlan, Mulan, and the others exclaimed in shock. The battle continued, but everyone's attention was drawn to this side. As martial arts grandmasters, they could see the battle from dozens of miles away. Oh, I've said it before, I'll defeat you in one move. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Impossible, impossible. Duanmu Lin roared, finding it hard to bear. He had prided himself as a peerless genius, but he was defeated by Lu Ming in one move. It was a huge blow to him. Below, Lu Yao also had a look of disbelief on her face. In her eyes, Duanmu Lin, who had been unrivaled, had actually been defeated by Tianyun in a single move. There's actually such a genius in this world? Even Duanmu Lin was defeated in one move. The title of Marquis Champion is indeed well-deserved. Lu Yao thought to herself as she looked at Lu Ming with a strange glint in her eyes. The second move will kill you. Lu Ming chuckled and took another step forward. At the same time, a cold killing intent burst out from his body. Tianyun, you dare. Duanmu Songhai roared and wanted to help. Duanmu Songhai, I'm your opponent. Lin Shui's aura locked onto Duanmu Songhai. Tianyun, there's no enmity between us in the past, nor has there been any enmity between us recently. Why must you kill me? If you kill me, my Duanmu family will never let you off. Why must you seek trouble for yourself? Duanmu Lin cried out in fear. Ha ha ha, no grudges? No complaints? Duanmu Lin, your memory isn't that good. I've said that I'll definitely return to the mystical sword sect within 2 years and kill you. You've already forgotten? At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly laughed out loud. His voice also changed, returning to his original voice. What? You're the referee. Duanmu Lin's pupils rapidly contracted and his mind was greatly shaken. Lu Ming reached out and wiped his face. He took off the disguise mask and revealed his handsome face. At the same time, the bones in his body moved and he returned to his original appearance. Lu Ming, why are you here? Duanmu Lin shrieked hysterically when he saw Lu Ming's face. This was too hard for him to accept. The champion Marquis Tianyun was Lu Ming, the Lu Ming that he looked down on. He would rather defeat his Tianyun than Lu Ming. This was a blow to his heart that was 10 times, no 100 times worse. Lu Ming has returned. In the distant sky, Yanlan, Mulan and the rest were shocked when they saw this. Then it was ecstasy, unbelievable ecstasy. Ha ha ha, this kid is actually Tianyun? This old man is too shocked. Yanlan laughed. How did this happen? Duanmu Pajuan, who was fighting against Yanlan, let out a roar of disbelief. Lu Ming, you're finally back. I knew that you'd come back. You'd come back to fulfill your promise. Mulan's eyes were filled with joy. Lu Ming is back. Lu Ming is the Marquis Champion Tianyun. All the disciples and elders of the mystical sword sect could not help but shout. The news quickly spread throughout the entire mystical sword sect and the entire battlefield. No one would have thought that the renowned champion Ho Tianyun was actually Lu Ming, the man who had stormed the White Tiger Hall, killed Lu Yunxiong, and killed dozens of people from the Duanmu family a year ago. In the end, he had been forced to withdraw from the mystical sword sect by the Duanmu family. Many of them even remembered the determination Lu Ming had when he left the mystical sword sect and the promise he made. He would definitely return within 2 years and kill Duanmu Lin. It had been less than 2 years. It had only been slightly more than a year and Lu Ming had returned. Duanmu Lin had been defeated by him in one move. The return of the king. A true king, no matter where he went, no matter what identity he used, was destined not to be buried. He would always shine. Lu Ming is back. I'm indeed not as good as him. Azure Dragon Hall, Zhang Muyun sighed. Haha, I knew he would come back. At the foot of the White Tiger Hall, Ling Kong, who was covered in blood, laughed heartily. Chapter 345. 345 Killing Duanmu Lin. It's him indeed. Oh. In the sky, Lin Shui revealed a bitter smile. At this moment, Lin Shui was filled with regret. Back then, he had chosen the Duanmu family over Lu Ming. The facts proved that he was wrong. The entire Duanmu family had rebelled, but at the crucial moment, Lu Ming had come to their rescue. His feelings were extremely complicated. Damn it, I should have killed him with all my strength back then. Duanmu Songhai's face was extremely gloomy. Of all the people present, the one with the most complicated feelings and the most difficult to accept was Lu Yao. At this moment, Lu Yao's body was trembling violently as she looked at the familiar figure in the sky in disbelief. No, it's impossible. It can't be Lu Ming's. How can Lu Ming be Tian Yun? Lu Yao called out incoherently. Not long ago, she was still thinking that it was a pity that Lu Ming was not here. She could not see the gap between him and Duanmu Lin, and was proud that he had chosen Duanmu Lin. However, in the blink of an eye, Tian Yun had appeared and defeated Duanmu Lin with a single move. Now he was telling her that Lu Ming was Tian Yun. This was a huge blow to her. No, impossible. It's fake. All of this is fake. Lu Yao shrieked, her beautiful face contorted into a hideous and terrifying expression. She couldn't accept all this. In the sky, Lu Ming casually glanced at Lu Yao and no longer paid attention to her, as if she was just a stranger. Duanmu Lin, I'll send you on your way. Lu Ming said softly. No, I can't die. Duanmu Lin cried out in horror as he desperately flew backward. Lu Ming, stop. Duanmu Songhai roared and a powerful aura burst out from his body, wanting to save him. However, he was being held back by Lin Shui. Yinlan, get lost. On the other side, Duanmu Pujuan also roared loudly. He wanted to save Yinlan, but how could Yinlan allow him to do so? Duanmu Pujuan, we haven't decided who's going to win yet. Where are you going? Yinlan laughed coldly as he blocked Duanmu Pujuan's way. Stop him! In Tianjua shouted. Buzz! A few of the experts he had brought with him charged toward Lu Ming. Die! A long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hands. With a stab, the spear's gleam burst out and the two 7th-grade martial arts grandmaster experts were instantly killed. At the same time, Lu Ming devoured the blood essence. Lu Ming did not stop as he charged toward Duanmu Lin. Stop him and let young Master Lin escape. The other Duanmu family experts rushed over, but the strongest was only in the 7th level of the martial arts grandmaster realm. They were all killed by Lu Ming. In the next moment, Lu Ming appeared in front of Duanmu Lin. I'm not afraid. Duanmu Lin shouted in fear. Die! Lu Ming muttered and thrust his spear. Poochie! The spear pierced through Duanmu Lin's heart. Duanmu Lin's eyes immediately popped out like a dead fish's. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and regret. Immediately after, the life in his eyes quickly dissipated. Never in his dreams did he expect that he would die in Lu Ming's hands. More than a year ago, when Lu Ming left the mystical sword sect, he said that he would return to the sect to kill him within 2 years. At that time he did not take it seriously. He did not think that Lu Ming could catch up to him. However, the truth was often very different from what you expected. Duanmu Lin was dead. Bang! Lu Ming swung his long spear and Duanmu Lin's corpse flew out like a piece of trash. No, Lu Ming, you should die. You should die. In the sky, Duanmu Songhai screamed hysterically. His voice was as shrill as a ghost. Duanmu Lin was the hope of the Duanmu family, and now that his hope had been snuffed out, Duanmu Songhai simply couldn't bear it. Old man, what are you shouting for? After I left the sect, you sent people to assassinate me. I once swore to trample your Duanmu family to the ground. Now it's your turn. Goldeneye, go and kill that old man. Lu Ming berated Duanmu Songhai, and then instructed the golden-eyed blood corpse. Roar! The golden-eyed blood corpse let out a deafening roar as it emitted a dense blood-red light and pounced towards Duanmu Songhai. You're looking for death. Duanmu Songhai roared and slashed at the golden-eyed blood corpse. A sharp sword light burst out, trying to cut the golden-eyed blood zombie in half. However, the result shocked everyone. The golden-eyed blood corpse waved its claws and tore Duanmu Songhai's sword light into pieces. The golden-eyed blood corpse continued to attack Duanmu Songhai with lightning speed. Half-step King Warrior? Why is it half-step King Warrior again? Duanmu Songhai let out a cry of disbelief. There was another half-step king beside Lu Ming. How was that possible? Could it be that half-step kings were cabbages? Even Lin Shui and the other half-step kings were stunned. Boom! Duanmu Songhai circulated his sword force and burst out with all his strength. Just now, he thought that he could kill the golden-eyed blood corpse with a casual strike, so the sword ray was easily destroyed by the corpse. Kill! At this moment, Lin Shui shouted coldly, and a terrifying sword aura burst forth, and a peerless sharp edge stabbed towards Duanmu Songhai. Arg! Lin Shui, you sneaked an attack on me, you're despicable. Duanmu Songhai howled in fear as he used all his strength to resist. Don't even think about it. Qiu Wuyang and Yin Tianjue roared and wanted to save him, but Shang Guanming and Yin Quan had also made their moves. A battle between half-step kings suddenly erupted. The entire heaven and earth was in an uproar. Ah! An earth-shattering scream reverberated through the entire mystical sword sect. It was Duanmu Songhai. He was no match for the golden-eyed blood corpse and Lin Shui. Furthermore, Lin Shui had launched a sneak attack. With one move, a piece of flesh was torn off from his chest by the golden-eyed blood corpse. Even his bones and internal organs could be seen. His right hand had disappeared. Lin Shui's sword light had cut off one of his arms from his shoulder, almost cutting him in half. But even if he dodged it, he was already half dead. Ah, Lin Shui, you're despicable. How dare you sneak attack me? Duanmu Songhai shouted. There's no need to kill traitors in broad daylight. Kill! Lin Shui's killing intent was like a tidal wave. She hated the Duanmu family to the core. She unleashed her full power and charged towards Duanmu Songhai. Roar! The golden-eyed blood corpse also roared and charged towards Duanmu Songhai. Save me! Duanmu Song's sea urchin was scared out of its wits as it fled for its life. Unfortunately, even if Qiu Wuyang and Yin Tianjue wanted to help, they were powerless. Their opponents weren't any weaker than them. Duanmu Songhai was already heavily injured, and his combat strength was greatly reduced. How could he escape? The next moment, another scream was heard. He dodged the claw of the golden-eyed blood corpse, but he couldn't avoid Lin Shui's sword and was cut in half. After all, he was a half-step king with a strong life force. Duanmu Songhai was still alive, and he started to scream in fear. Sect leader, please spare my life. Please spare my old bones. For the sake of all the years I've fought for the sect, please spare me. Duanmu Songhai pleaded loudly. And NBSP, he actually called him sect leader again. He was really shameless. Indeed, the older a person was, the more afraid he was of death. Fight for the sect? I think you've been working hard for yourself all these years. Duanmu Songhai, I'll send you on your way personally. Lin Shui coldly shouted. Buzz! The sharp sword chi burst out. Duanmu Songhai let out a cry of despair as the sword chi sliced through his head, splitting him into two. Duanmu Songhai, a half-step king, was dead. Chapter 346. 346 Chapter 346 Turning the Tables. Father! In the distance, Duanmu Pajuan shouted. Oh! Bang! He was distracted for a moment, and Yen Lan's palm landed on his chest. Duanmu Pajuan retreated as blood spurted out of his mouth. Die! Yen Lan chased after him, and the violent attack tilted down. Duanmu Pajuan, who was seriously injured, could only block a dozen moves before his heart meridian was shattered by Yen Lan's palm. With a loud cry, he died unwillingly. Not good, let's go. Seeing that Duanmu Songhai had been killed, Qiu Wuyang let out a long howl and turned to leave. Qiu Wuyang, you can stay here today. Die! Lin Shui roared as she charged at Qiu Wuyang with her sword. The dazzling sword chi filled the void and blocked Qiu Wuyang's way out. Buzz! Buzz! Yan Quan and the golden-eyed blood corpse flashed and appeared on the other two sides of Qiu Wuyang. Qiu Wuyang's face was gloomy and his eyes were filled with anxiety. Damn it. I can't believe I've fallen into such a situation today. I never thought that this Tianyun no Lu Ming would have two half-step king warriors with him. It's all Lu Ming's fault. Damn it. Qiu Wuyang kept roaring in his heart as he rolled his eyes, trying to think of a solution. With Duanmu Songhai's death, the only half-step king warriors on their side were him, Yin Tianjue, and another expert from the 10-direction sword school. On the Mystic Essence sword sect's side, there was Lin Shui, a half-step king, Shangguanming, Yan Quan, and the golden-eyed blood corpse. In terms of peak combat strength, they were already at a complete disadvantage. They could only retreat for now. Otherwise, they would all have to stay here. Boom! Let's go! On the other side, Yin Tianjue and Shangguanming exchanged a blow. He roared and called for the powerful cultivators he had brought with him, planning to escape. Yin Tianjue, let's settle this today. Where are you going? Seeing that Yin Tianjue was about to leave, Yan Quan gave a loud roar and abandoned Qiu Wuyang to charge towards Yin Tianjue. Detestable! Yin Tianjue howled in anger as he burst forth with all his might. Buzz! As soon as Yan Quan left, Qiu Wuyang soared Qi sword into the sky. The battle sword in his hand slashed out, its sharpness unparalleled. Boom! Even the powerful golden-eyed blood corpse was sent flying thousands of meters. Qiu Wuyang seized the opportunity and was about to run away. However, on the other side, another sharp sword Qi was coming at him. It was Lin Shui. Qiu Wuyang, you won't be able to escape. Lin Shui's voice was cold. Damn it! Qiu Wuyang roared and fought back with all his might. However, after a few moves, he was already spitting out blood. Ow! Oh! At this moment, the howls of Wallevers could be heard from the distant land. Boom! 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 The earth rumbled as countless blood-red scaled Wallevers charged over. Lu Ming's red blood cavalry had arrived. Kill! The blood-red cavalry roared and charged at the army of the 10-direction sword sect. The omnipresent sword sect immediately sent out a powerful army to stop the blood-red cavalry. Although this army was very strong and was the elite of the 10-direction sword school, it was not enough to face the blood-red cavalry. The red blood cavalry was armed to the teeth. What they wore and what they held in their hands were all the best items that Lu Ming had taken from the Martial King's storage ring. Together with the crimson-scaled wolf, they were an army that was born for war. After a few charges, the army of the 10-direction sword sect was scattered. The blood-red cavalry charged past, leaving corpses everywhere and blood flowing like a river. Qiu Wuyang, your plan today is destined to fail. It's impossible for the 10-direction sword sect to rule the Burning Sun Empire. Lin Shui glared at Qiu Wuyang. Qiu Wuyang's face was extremely dark and his eyes were filled with anger. He didn't say anything as he tried to block Lin Shui and the golden-eyed blood corpse's attacks while looking for an opportunity to escape. Sect leader, let me help you. At this time a loud roar was heard. A tall figure rushed over and exchanged a blow with the golden-eyed blood corpse. This person was the other half-step king of the 10-direction sword school. I'm your opponent. The half-step king from the mystical sword sect had also caught up. Sect leader, run. The 10-direction sword sect can't do without you. Leave this to me. The half-step king from the 10-direction sword school roared. His body emitted a strong purple light, and his originally tall body expanded again. He's burning his blood essence. He's going to risk his life. Stop him! Lin Shui shouted. Kill! 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 The half-step king from the 10-direction sword school roared and slashed out 3 times. The power of these 3 swords was beyond imagination, infinitely close to the attack power of a king. Boom! 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 The golden-eyed blood corpse, Lin Shui, and the half-step king from the Mystic Essence sword sect were all sent flying thousands of meters away. Buzz! Qiu Wuyang seized the opportunity and turned into a beam of light, disappearing into the horizon in a few breaths. Lu Ming, Lin Shui, Qiu Wuyang, will exterminate your entire family sooner or later. Qiu Wuyang's murderous voice came from the distance. Boom! On the other side, Yin Tianju used some kind of secret technique and lost an arm to fight back Yan Quan and Shangguanming's encirclement. He turned into a blood light and rushed out, disappearing into the horizon. Detestable! Lin Shui roared as she turned her attention to the 10-direction sword school's half-step king. Although he had burned his blood essence and increased his combat strength, he couldn't last long. His blood essence was exhausted, and he was torn into pieces by the golden-eyed blood corpse. Lu Ming's figure flashed and appeared in the air. Looking at the corpse of the 10-direction sword sect's demi-king, Lu Ming sighed in pity. The other party's blood essence had already been exhausted. This was a half-step king. The energy contained in its blood essence was absolutely terrifying. To Lu Ming it was a supreme treasure. Furthermore, the blood essence of a half-step king was extremely condensed, and its essence dissipated very slowly. Any jade bottle could store it for a very long time. Previously, Duanmu Songhai's blood essence had already been stored in a jade bottle by Lu Ming. He could keep it for later consumption and refinement. After taking a look at his surroundings, Lu Ming wiped his face with his hand and transformed back into Tianyun. Blood-red iron cavalry, hear my order. Kill the people of the 10-direction sword sect without mercy. Lu Ming gave the order heartlessly, his voice spreading far and wide. Kill! Kill! The blood-red cavalry roared, their killing intent soaring to the heavens. Kill! Lu Ming shouted as well. He wielded his spear and charged at the martial arts grandmaster from the omnidirectional sword sect. At the same time, the golden-eyed blood corpse, Yan Quan, Lin Shui, and the other half-step kings also charged toward the 10-direction sword school. With so many half-step kings joining in, it was simply a massacre. Screams of pain and agony filled the air as a large number of experts were killed. Run quickly, run! The people from the 10-direction sword school didn't have the heart to continue fighting. Even their sect leader had escaped, and the other party had so many terrifying experts. Staying behind to fight was simply an act of courting death. One by one, they began to flee from the mystical sword sect. The attack of the 10-direction sword school this time could be considered a complete failure. Lu Ming was on a killing spree. With a wave of his long spear, a few experts from the Duanmu family were killed. Lu Ming had his eyes on the Duanmu family. In fact, it was the same for the other people in the mystical sword sect. They were also targeting the Duanmu family. Even if the people from the 10-direction sword school were to escape, they could not let the people from the Duanmu family off. Betrayer only death. Chapter 347. 347 Meeting Lu Yao again. Chaos. The scene was in chaos. Oh! Screams and curses were heard. The people from the Duanmu family screamed and fled. Don't leave me! Not far from Lu Ming there was a shriek. A few figures soared into the sky trying to escape. Whoosh! Xiao! Xiao! Lu Ming's long spear shook and the spear's radiance burst out. These 4th and 5th grade martial arts grandmasters were easily killed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming appeared in a flash. He looked down and frowned slightly. Below, Lu Yao lay limply on the ground, her face filled with despair. Duanmu Songhai, Duanmu Lin, and Duanmu Pujuan all died. The Duanmu family's higher-ups were killed one after another in front of her eyes. This completely shattered her fantasy and her future. Lu Ming, it's all your fault. You've ruined me. Lu Yao raised her head and looked at Lu Ming with reddened eyes. Her eyes were filled with resentment. I destroyed you? What a joke. Lu Ming looked at Lu Yao and chided her coldly. From the beginning to the end, I've never provoked you. You've been lying to me and even deprived me of my bloodline. When I came to the mystical sword sect, it was the Duanmu family who tried to kill me time and time again. Now you're saying that I destroyed you? So you're saying that I can only let you do whatever you want to me, and I can't fight back? How laughable. Lu Yao, let me tell you, you only have yourself to blame for everything. Lu Ming looked at Lu Yao and said slowly. His voice was very calm, and one could not tell any emotional fluctuations. He was just stating a fact. He asked for it? You brought this upon yourself, ha. Lu Yao muttered to herself, then burst out laughing. Buzz! Buzz! At that moment, two figures appeared beside Lu Ming. They were Qiu Yu and Xian Yanqing. After Lu Yao laughed, she calmed down and looked at Xian Yanqing and Qiu Yu. Qiu Yu and Xian Yanqing, one in a white dress and the other in a black dress, stood in the air like a goddess. Lu Yao had always prided herself on her beauty, but compared to Qiu Yu and Xian Yanqing, she was still not as good. In addition, Qiu Yu and Xian Yanqing exuded a powerful aura. Standing beside Lu Ming, they looked like a celestial couple. At this moment, Lu Yao's heart was filled with complicated emotions. There was regret, hatred, and envy. She had brought this upon herself. Yes, Lu Ming was right. She had brought this upon herself. All of this was caused by herself. If she had not thought so much in the past, looked down on Lu Ming, despised him, and even deprived him of his bloodline just because he was dispirited for a moment, and did not pursue geniuses and rich families, but stayed by Lu Ming's side obediently, then the person who was envied by countless people would not be others but her. At this moment, she truly understood the meaning of the phrase, "Don't bully the young for being poor." People would always have their ups and downs. However, the low point was only temporary. As long as he didn't die, he would rise up eventually. I envy the prosperity and brilliance of others, but I ignore the brilliance and potential of the people around me. In the end, it's all for nothing. Perhaps I was wrong. Lu Yao suddenly let out a long sigh. All of a sudden, the true energy in Lu Yao's body went berserk, and streams of fiery red true energy rushed out of her body. Poochie! Then Lu Yao's body trembled and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Her aura rapidly weakened and she finally became like an ordinary person. His cultivation was crippled. In a short period of time, Lu Yao had gone through a great roller coaster ride, and her mental state had also experienced a great roller coaster ride, which actually led to the collapse of her mental state, causing her cultivation to be completely crippled. Lu Yao lay limply on the ground, her eyes unfocused and filled with despair. At that moment, the scenes from her journey to this place appeared in Lu Yao's mind. She suddenly realized that the 3 years that she spent with Lu Ming were the real happiness. Later on, she pursued more and it became more tiring. After a long while, Lu Yao suddenly burst into tears. She looked at Lu Ming and said, "Lu Ming, I'm sorry." "All right." Lu Ming suddenly sighed. One must always look at the side. Although the scenery in the distance is beautiful, it's just an illusion. It's like a dream. It's not a bad thing that you'll be an ordinary person in the future. After that, Lu Ming called over an expert from the Blood-Red Cavalry and instructed, "Take her to an ordinary village nearby and let her spend the rest of her life there." Yes. The Blood-Red Cavalry accepted the order, picked up Lu Yao and disappeared in a flash. A gentle breeze blew past and a crystal-clear teardrop floated towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming opened his palm and the teardrop landed on it. "This is good too." Lu Ming muttered. "What's wrong? You can't bear to part with your old lover?" Xian Yanqing pouted. "Old lover? Aren't you my old lover?" Lu Ming smiled. "Oh, me? Bah. Who's your old lover?" Xian Yanqing rolled his eyes at Lu Ming and said through gritted teeth. However, her face was a little red. Qiu Yu blinked her watery eyes and looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. She smiled gently and did not say anything. There was no longer any suspense in this battle. In the end, the Duanmu family was almost completely annihilated, and the 10-direction sword school also suffered heavy losses. Only a small number of people managed to escape. As for the dozens of experts that Yin Tianjue had brought with him, all of them had been killed except for himself. The 5 courtyards of the mystical sword sect were covered in ruins and corpses. The ground was dyed red with blood. The atmosphere was heavy. Although the mystical sword sect had won this battle, they had also suffered heavy losses. It could be said that the mystical sword sect's strength had dropped by a large margin after this battle. Due to the Duanmu family's betrayal, the White Tiger Hall was almost crippled. Lu Ming was walking among the ruins. Marquis Champion. Marquis Champion. The mystical sword sect's disciples bowed respectfully when they saw Lu Ming. Their hearts were filled with complicated feelings. Initially, Lu Ming was just like them, a disciple of the mystical sword sect. However, things were different now. Now, Lu Ming was the Marquis Champion and he was in control of the army. His own strength was extremely powerful, and he had 2 half-step king warriors under him. He had already become one of the overlords of the Blazing Sun Empire, an overlord that could be on equal footing with Lin Shui. Lu Ming nodded in response. Marquis Champion. Lu Ming met Zhang Muyun in the Azure Dragon Hall. He was covered in blood and Zhua Yirong was by his side. Brother Zhang, you don't have to be so polite, Lu Ming said with a smile. Lu Ming was happy for Zhang Muyun and Zhua Yirong. Although Lu Ming did not have many interactions with the 2 of them, he still admired their character. Many people have died. Duangang also died in battle. Zhang Muyun sighed, his voice filled with solemnness and sadness. Is Duangang dead? Lu Ming muttered. Duangang was the #1 genius among the bronze-level disciples of the Onyx Tortoise Hall. He had once competed with them for a place on the bronze ranking. He was a very straightforward young man. But now he had died in battle. After chatting with Zhang Muyun for a while, Lu Ming left the place. He walked around and arrived at the Vermilion Bird Hall. Lu Ming. With a soft cry, Mulan walked toward Lu Ming leisurely, her eyes filled with joy. At this moment, Lu Ming had already returned to his true appearance, and everyone in the Blood-Red Cavalry already knew his true identity. Chapter 348. 348 Chapter 348 Times have changed. Senior Sister Mulan. Oh. Lu Ming also smiled and walked towards Mulan. Lu Ming, I was right about you. It's been a long time since we last met. Your achievements have exceeded my imagination. And now that you're the Marquis Champion, should I call you Lord Marquis when I see you? Mulan came to Lu Ming's side with a smile and teased him. It had been more than a year since they last met, and Mulan's figure had become even more voluptuous. She was wearing a tight-fitting black chiffon dress that outlined a shocking curve on her body. The faint fragrance of her body continuously sneaked into Lu Ming's nose. It was filled with endless temptation. It was completely like a ripe peach. Senior Sister Mulan, you've laughed at me. In front of Senior Sister, I'm still that junior brother, Lu Ming said with a bitter smile. A satisfied smile appeared on Mulan's face as if she was saying, at least you know your place. Then Mulan sized Lu Ming up carefully. A trace of longing flashed across her eyes, but no one noticed it. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure appeared in the air above them. It was a middle-aged man. Marquis Champion, the sect leader has something to discuss with you. He's in the meeting hall. The middle-aged man cupped his fists and saluted. All right, I'll be there immediately. Lu Ming nodded. Many thanks, Marquis Champion. The middle-aged man cupped his fists in thanks and left. Senior Sister Mulan. Let's talk another day, Lu Ming said with a smile. All right. Mulan nodded. Then Lu Ming soared into the sky and headed out of the mystical sword sect's mountain gate. The Blood-Red Cavalry's temporary camp was here. Lord Marquis. The Blood-Red Cavalry saluted Lu Ming the moment he returned. Regardless of whether it was Lu Ming or Tian Yun, the Blood-Red Cavalry would not care. They only recognized one person, and that was the Marquis Champion himself. Then Lu Ming brought the Golden-Eye Blood Corpse and Yin Quan to the meeting hall of the Mystical Sword Sect. The Mystical Sword Sect's meeting hall was located deep within the 5 great academies. It was the place where the sect leader, golden-robed elders, and golden-ranked disciples cultivated. It was also the core of the Mystical Sword Sect. Back then, Lu Ming had stayed in the Mystical Sword Sect for so long, but he had never come here. Now, he had left the Mystical Sword Sect and came here. Things were really wonderful. The Marquis Champion has arrived. Lu Ming had just appeared outside the meeting hall when someone announced his arrival. Then dozens of people walked out of the meeting hall. The one in the lead was Lin Shui, and on the right was the only remaining half-step king warrior of the Ghost Moon Saber sect, Shangguan Ming. On the left was another half-step king from the Mystical Sword Sect. The other dozens of people were mostly the golden-robed elders of the Mystical Sword Sect, as well as the deans of the Vermilion Bird, Black Tortoise, and Azure Dragon halls. Feng Wuji was one of them. Ha ha ha, the Marquis Champion is here. Please come in, and Brother Yen as well. Lin Shui laughed and cupped her fists at Lu Ming and Yin Quan. His tone was very polite and he treated Lu Ming as a person of the same level. Greetings to Marquis Champion and Senior Yen Quan. The golden-robed elders also cupped their fists and said. Their feelings were complicated. Lu Ming was once a disciple of the mystical sword sect, and a proud son of heaven. He had entered the mystical sword sect and created many records. In the end, because of the Duanmu family, they made Lu Ming leave the mystical sword sect. However, it had only been a short while and Lu Ming had made such great achievements alone. Even they had to bow down to Lu Ming. This was simply unbelievable. And NBSP, sect leader Lin, seniors, you don't have to be so polite. Lu Ming smiled. Yen Quan's face was expressionless. Of course, the golden-eyed blood corpse did not have any reaction. Followed Lu Ming closely. A group of people walked into the meeting hall and took their seats. This time, it's all thanks to Marquis Champion's timely arrival. Otherwise, my Mystic Essence Sword Sect would have been destroyed by the 10 Direction Sword Sect. On behalf of all the disciples of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect, I would like to thank Marquis Champion. At the head of the hall, Lin Shui stood up and solemnly thanked Lu Ming. Sect leader Lin, you are too polite. I just don't want the 10 Direction Sword Sect to unify the Blazing Sun Empire. Lu Ming smiled faintly and his attitude was indifferent. No matter what, I still have to thank the Marquis Champion. Lin Shui cupped her fists again. She sighed in her heart and was a little disappointed. It was obvious that Lu Ming did not have a good impression of them. He had thought that it was possible to get Lu Ming to return to the mystical sword sect. However, looking at Lu Ming's attitude, it seemed impossible. Lin Shui collected herself and continued. I invited Marquis Champion here today to discuss the current situation and what we should do. Lu Ming nodded. This time, the 10 Direction Sword School has been defeated. They will definitely not let it go, and will definitely make a comeback. Moreover, the 10 Direction Sword School has joined forces with the Heavenly Fiend sect. In addition, they have occupied the imperial capital. No one is the 10 Direction Sword School's match. Therefore, we must join forces with the Crimson Cloud Valley to have the power to fight against the 10 Direction Sword School. The most important thing now is to rescue the Crimson Cloud Valley. Previously, some experts from the Heavenly Fiend sect and the 10 Direction Sword School were missing, most likely to have gone to deal with the Crimson Cloud Valley. I wonder what Marquis Champion and Senior Shangguan think about this? Lin Shui analyzed and then looked at Lu Ming and Shangguan Ming. I have no objections, as long as we don't let the 10 Direction Sword School succeed. Shangguan Ming said. I have no objections either. Lu Ming nodded. No one had any objections, so they immediately sent experts to assist the Crimson Cloud Valley. Lin Shui went personally, Shangguan Ming volunteered and Lu Ming sent Flame Spring. The 3 half-step kings led a large group of experts and charged toward the Red Cloud Valley. Lu Ming entered the Supreme Shrine and began to devour and refine the blood essence. In this battle, Lu Ming had devoured a large amount of blood essence and used it all to improve his 9-dragon bloodline. His cultivation had improved too quickly, and he still needed some time to polish it. Therefore, all the blood essence was used to improve the bloodline. Now Lu Ming felt that his 9-dragon bloodline had reached the limit of the 1st grade king level. He would soon reach the 2nd grade king level. With a wave of his hand, a jade bottle appeared. Within the jade bottle there were 9 drops of blood essence. These 9 drops of blood essence were placed together and did not mix with each other. They were like 9 bright rubies. This was the blood essence left behind by Duanmu Songhai. With a breath of genuine qi, a drop of blood essence flew out. At the same time, the bloodline of 9 dragons appeared. He opened his mouth and inhaled, and the drop of blood essence was swallowed by the bloodline of 9 dragons. Boom! After a drop of blood essence was absorbed, it was like a volcano had erupted, erupting with terrifying energy. The body of the 9-dragon bloodline actually swelled up rapidly. Roar! The 9 dragon bloodlines roared, and their voices rumbled, shaking the heavens and earth. They began to refine rapidly. The blood essence of a half-step king was too rich. The endless energy was all absorbed by the 9-dragon bloodline. Buzz! Half an hour later, the bloodline of the 9 dragons trembled. Around his body, there was only one Asilavira chakra. At this time, a second, lighter-colored Asilavira chakra also appeared. King Level 2. His 9-dragon bloodline had advanced to the second rank of the king level. The blood essence of a half-step king is indeed terrifying. Lu Ming sighed. Chapter 349. 349 Chapter 349 The War of the Whole Nation. Just a drop of blood essence had elevated the 9-dragon bloodline from the first level to the second level. Continue. Lu Ming took out another drop of blood essence and devoured it. This time Lu Ming upgraded his second blood meridian. The second bloodline was an ancient stone tablet. There seemed to be some words on it, but they were blurry and unclear. Seemed very mysterious. Moreover, up until now, the second bloodline did not seem to have any other magical effects other than increasing Lu Ming's combat strength when he activated it. This was not in line with the level of king-level bloodline. Lu Ming speculated that this might be because the level of the blood meridian was still too low. As long as the level of the blood meridian increased, the second blood meridian would definitely show some power. A huge stone tablet emerged, and surging blood essence energy was constantly injected into the stone tablet. However, his second bloodline was now at the 4th level of the king tier. The amount of blood essence energy required to upgrade it was too much. 1 drop, 2 drops. After refining a total of 7 drops, his second bloodline had only advanced to the limit of the 4th tier of the king level. Next, Lu Ming refined 2 more drops in a row. Unfortunately, the second blood meridian did not improve. It was still at the limit of the 4th level of the king tier. Right now, the increase in bloodline level is too slow. Even a half-step king can only increase it by this little bit. Usually, 8th or 7th stage martial ancestors have little effect, and 9th stage martial ancestors have a better effect. Lu Ming pondered in his heart and was rather speechless. He really didn't know what kind of blood essence he would need to continue upgrading. Martial King Realm. At the thought of this, Lu Ming was somewhat speechless. A day has passed. Let's go out and see the situation. With a single thought, Lu Ming left the Supreme Shrine. After he came out, he received news that Lin Shui and the others had returned. So fast. Lu Ming was a little surprised. Yin Quan then told him what had happened. It turned out that when Lin Shui and the others rushed to the Crimson Cloud Valley without stopping, they actually met the people of the Crimson Cloud Valley on the way. They were on their way to the mystical sword sect. When the two sides met, they found out that the 10-Direction Sword School and the Heaven Fiend School had indeed sent a large number of experts to besiege the Crimson Cloud Valley. However, the Scarlet Heaven Valley had not been infiltrated by the 10-Direction Sword School. How could it be so easy to break through when the top and bottom were united? However, the people of the Crimson Cloud Valley could not come out either. They were blocked and could not help the mystical sword sect. Unexpectedly, after 2 days, the 10-Direction Sword Sect and the Heaven Fiend Sect suddenly retreated. Only then did the Crimson Cloud Valley send people to the Mystical Sword Sect for help. Everyone guessed that the masters besieging the Crimson Cloud Valley retreated, because the 10-Direction Sword Sect had suffered a crushing defeat at the Mystical Sword Sect. Lu Ming nodded. It was a great thing that the Crimson Cloud Valley was fine. After Lu Ming and Yin Quan chatted for a while, Lin Shui sent someone to invite him to discuss some matters. This time, of course, they were discussing their next move. After the discussion, the Mystical Sword Sect began to gather the various armies and experts around the Mystical Sword Sect. The same was true for the Crimson Cloud Valley. 5 days later, Hua Qi and Ming Meng led their armies to the Mystical Sword Sect. Naturally, Lu Yuntian and Li Ping were there as well. Lu Ming arranged for Lu Yuntian and Li Ping to stay in the Mystical Sword Sect. This way, as long as the Mystical Sword Sect remained standing, Lu Yuntian and Li Ping would be safe. On the second day of Hua Qi's arrival, he announced it to the world as a legitimate member of the royal family. In the announcement, Hua Qi pointed out that Heavenly King Zhan had colluded with the 10-Direction Sword Sect and Heavenly Fiend Sect to usurp the throne, kill the Burning Sun Emperor Hua Zhangxing, and slaughter the entire royal family. It was a great treasonous act and everyone had the right to punish him. Therefore, they gathered all the righteous men in the world to attack Heavenly King Zhan, Shifeng Sword School, and Tian Sha Sect. When the announcement was made, Lu Ming was the first to respond. He was willing to lead an army to attack the omnipresent sword sect. The Marquis Champion and the Blood-Red Iron Cavalry were the first to respond, and the world was shaken. Following that, the supporters gathered. Needless to say, all the armies and forces in the mystical sword sect and the Crimson Cloud Valley's territories obeyed their orders. Many of the Imperial Army's troops also rushed to the mystical sword sect's territory in response to Hua Qi's call. Half a month later, Hua Qi had gathered an army of nearly 1 million. At this time, the mystical sword sect was located in the eastern part of the Blazing Sun Empire, forming a triangular formation with the Crimson Cloud Valley in the southern part of the Blazing Sun Empire. Together with Hua Qi's army, their strength was unprecedented. At the same time, the Ten Direction Sword Sect and the Heaven Fiend Sect also made their move. They gathered their armies and began to attack. The two forces started a life-and-death battle. This battle lasted for a month. The Blazing Sun Empire did not have a true martial king. The strongest was a half-step king, so the battle between the two sides was not one-sided. Although the Omnidirectional Sword Sect and the Malevolent Sky Sect were slightly stronger than the Mystical Sword Sect, the Crimson Cloud Valley, and Lu Ming, they were still too weak. However, since Lu Ming had brought Yen Quan and the Golden-Eyed Blood Corpse, they were not at a disadvantage in terms of half-step king warriors. Even if the Ten Direction Sword School was slightly stronger, it was not by much. It was impossible to defeat Lu Ming's side in a short time. The two sides were in a stalemate. The total number of soldiers on both sides exceeded 8 million, and there were constant small and big battles. During this time, the Blood-Red Cavalry were extremely eye-catching and had won every battle. They had made great contributions, causing the expressions of the Ten Direction Sword Sect to change. However, there was a flaw, and that was that there were too few of them. There were only 30,000 of them, and as the battle continued, their numbers would decrease. In a battle with millions of soldiers, it was difficult to establish a decisive advantage. In the Dark Moon Empire, in the South Vanquishing Prince's mansion, a group of people were discussing some matters. The Duke of the South, Yin Tianjue, was missing an arm. He sat at the head of the table with a gloomy expression, as if he was in deep thought. Your Royal Highness, why didn't we send troops to aid the Ten Direction Sword Sect and destroy the Mystical Sword Sect, Crimson Cloud Valley, and Lu Ming in one fell swoop? One of the generals asked. Help the Ten Direction Sword Sect? What good would that do us? Duke Zhenan sneered coldly, as if he had everything under control. Isn't it good like this? The internal battle of the Ten-Directional Sword School will exhaust each other. When both sides have suffered heavy losses, we will lead the army and wipe out the Burning Sun Empire in one fell swoop. The entire Burning Sun Empire will come under our command. Your Highness is wise. In the conference hall of Shifeng Mountain, there were dozens of people in the hall. They were all the upper echelons of the Ten Direction Sword Sect and Heavenly Fiend Sect. Heavenly King Zhan and Qiu Wuyang were also among them. Qiu Wuyang was sitting at the head of the table. How's the situation now? Qiu Wuyang asked. Sect leader, right now the two armies are at war with each other. Neither side can truly suppress the other. A golden-robed elder of the Ten Directions Sword School reported. And the other party is very cunning and heavily guarded. We've repeatedly sent assassins to assassinate their experts, but they've discovered us in advance and killed the assassins we sent. Another gold-robed elder reported. That's right. The most difficult to deal with was Lu Ming's Blood-Red Iron Cavalry. They caused a lot of casualties on our side. The gold-robed elder from before sighed. Bang! Qiu Wuyang slammed the table with a gloomy face and shouted, Lu Ming again. Chapter 350. 350 Qiu Chongkong's Secret. At the mention of Lu Ming, Qiu Wuyang's face darkened and his killing intent soared. Oh! It was all because of Lu Ming that the situation had fallen into such a state and the omnipresent sword sect was in such a passive position. According to Qiu Wuyang's plan, everything should have been perfect, and the Blazing Sun Empire should have been unified by now. It was all because of Lu Ming's interference that his plan was completely ruined. I must get rid of this Lu Ming as soon as possible. Qiu Wuyang gritted his teeth. It's difficult to get rid of Lu Ming. A gold-robed elder sighed. Lu Ming's own combat strength was very strong, and he had a half-step king following him at all times. It was almost impossible to kill him. What about Yin Tianjue? Still no response? Qiu Wuyang asked. No, the messenger he sent said that Yin Tianjue didn't see him at all. Damn it, Yin Tianjue, that old fox. He's waiting for us to both suffer losses so that he can benefit from it. Qiu Wuyang shouted angrily. Sect leader, you don't have to worry so much. It won't take long for us to destroy the mystical sword sect, the Crimson Cloud Valley, and Lu Ming. At this moment a clear voice was heard. As soon as he said that, everyone's eyes turned to the person who spoke. This man was in his 20s and he was Cho Chongkong. Zhang Kong, do you have a way to solivere this? Qiu Wuyang asked. Haha, sect leader, and all the seniors present, have you all forgotten that the day of recruitment for the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, which happens once every 5 years, is about to arrive? Cho Chongkong laughed. The Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace is recruiting Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards. Qiu Wuyang was stunned at first, but then he seemed to have thought of something and said ecstatically, haha, that's right. Look at how anxious I am. I've forgotten about this. Chongkong, with the help of that person, there's a great chance for you to join the Emperor Sky Divine Guards. As long as you join the Emperor Sky Divine Guards and borrow a little of the Emperor Sky Divine Palace's power, the Mystic Essence Sword Sect, the Crimson Cloud Valley, and Lu Ming will all be annihilated with the flip of a hand. That's right. Haha, why didn't I think of that? Some of the golden-robed elders of the 10-Direction Sword School also laughed in a carefree manner. As for the experts from Heavenly Fiend Sect, they were a little puzzled. Brother Qiu, as far as I know, the Detian Divine Guards only recruit once every 5 years. All of them are extremely rare and monstrous geniuses. Furthermore, they're not recruiting from the 36 countries of Emperor Yuan, but from the entire eastern region of the Tianxian region. The eastern region of the Tianxian region is extremely vast. The Cloud Emperor mountain range that the 36 nations of the Cloud Emperor Empire are located in is merely a small part of it. There are many regions that are larger than the Cloud Emperor mountain range, and it can be said that geniuses are as common as clouds. It's not that I'm looking down on nephew Chongkong, but your talent is naturally extremely shocking. However, it's still a long story if you want to join the Emperor Sky Divine Guards. The sect master of Heavenly Fiend Sect said from the side. The Divine Wilderness continent had many large regions. The Cloud Emperor mountain range was located in the Tianxian region. The Tianxian region was extremely vast, and the Cloud Emperor mountain range was just an unremarkable mountain range in the Tianxian region. Even though Qiu Chongkong's strength was unparalleled in the Blazing Sun Empire, and countless young geniuses paled in comparison to him, he was nothing in the entire eastern region of the Tianxian region. On the other hand, Qiu Chongkong, Qiu Wuyang, and the elder from the 10-Direction Sword Sect seemed very confident. It was no wonder that Tiansha sect leader was confused. Haha. There's something that Brothers Wu doesn't know. There's no harm in telling you. Chongkong has always been talented and intelligent since young. When he was young, he was taken in as an in-name disciple by a major character from the eastern branch of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. During these years, that major character would occasionally come to the 10-Direction Sword Sect to guide Chongkong. Qiu Wuyang smiled proudly. What? Nephew Chongkong was accepted as an in-name disciple by a major character of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace? The sect master of Heavenly Fiend Sect stood up from his chair with a loud bang and was practically shouting. The Heavenly King of Suppression and a few other experts from Heavenly Fiend Sect had the same expression. Shocking, this was too shocking. A major character in the Eastern Palace of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, what kind of existence was that? He had actually taken a fancy to Qiu Chongkong and accepted him as an in-name disciple. Although he was only an in-name disciple and not a true disciple, it was already shocking enough. No wonder Qiu Chongkong could be so much ahead of the other geniuses and enter the Cloud Emperor ranking. He even killed a genius on the Cloud Emperor ranking not long ago. I see. The Tiansha sect master sighed as he looked at Qiu Chongkong with envy. Haha, we'll pull back our forces now, and maintain a stalemate with the mystical sword sect. When Chongkong becomes an Empyrean Heaven Divine Guard, We'll be able to use a bit of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace's power and annihilate the mystical sword sect and the Crimson Cloud Valley in an instant. Qiu Wuyang laughed. Lu Ming, Lu Yuntian, the martial emperor's treasure is mine. Let's see how long you can hide. Qiu Changkong's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Ever since the news that Lu Ming was Lu Yuntian spread, Qiu Changkong had deduced that Lu Yuntian was Lu Ming's father, and that Lu Ming was the one who had saved Lu Yuntian. Lu Yuntian has been holding back for so many years because he wants to pass on the secret of the martial emperor's treasure to his son. Lu Ming, you should know about the secret of the martial emperor's treasure by now, right? Well, I'll pry it out of you. Qiu Changkong's eyes flashed with a sinister light. After a short while, Qiu Wuyang gave the order for the Shifang sword sect to withdraw their forces and start defending, waiting for the day when the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace recruited the Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards. They didn't have to wait long. A month later, both sides stopped fighting at the same time. The higher-ups of both sides issued orders that not even small conflicts were allowed to happen. Anyone who violated this order would be executed. Because on this day, an emissary from the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace had arrived at the Blazing Sun Empire. Every time the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace was about to recruit the Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards, they would send out emissaries to patrol the various countries and send out invitations to those geniuses. Only geniuses who received an invitation letter could participate in the selection of the Detian Divine Guards. With the arrival of the emissary from the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, both parties naturally did not dare to start a war, for fear of causing the emissary to be unhappy. Both parties were waiting for the emissaries of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace to send out their invitations. Oh! In a secret chamber in the 10-square mountain, Qiu Wuyang and Qiu Changkong were sitting opposite each other. Zhang Kong, Lu Ming's talent is also extremely shocking. If he were to participate in the Detian Divine Guard selection, he might pose a threat to you. Although this threat is very small, you can't let him off. Qiu Wuyang said. Lu Ming. He won't be able to receive the invitation. Qiu Changkong said with a cold smile on his face. You can't get an invitation? Could he be the master of your Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace? Qiu Wuyang was overjoyed. Qiu Changkong shook his head. It's just a small matter. There's no need to trouble, master. It's one of my senior brothers. I've already sent him a message. Lu Ming won't be able to receive the invitation. Qiu Changkong laughed coldly and said with a hint of pride. Haha. This is great. Qiu Wuyang laughed. Chapter 351. 351 Lu Ming did not. After a few days. In the conference hall of the Mystical Sword Sect, the higher-ups of the Mystical Sword Sect, the Crimson Cloud Valley, Lu Ming, Hua Qi, and the others were all gathered for a discussion. The Emperor Sky Divine Guard selection is an opportunity. An opportunity to break the stalemate between the two sides of the Blazing Sun Empire. I reckon that the 10-Direction Sword Sect will definitely seize this opportunity and let Qiu Changkong participate in the Emperor Sky Divine Guard selection. Once Qiu Changkong successfully joins the Emperor Sky Divine Guard, we'll all be in danger. The first to speak was Lin Shui. That's right. The Emperor Sky Divine Guards have great authority. When the time comes, even a little bit of their power will be terrifying. With Qiu Changkong's talent, although he might not be able to join the Emperor Sky Divine Guards, the truth is hard to predict. Even if he becomes a reserve Emperor Sky Divine Guard, he'll still be a great danger. The Valley Master of the Scarlet Cloud Valley, Ling Patian, nodded and said, We also need someone on our side to become a Detian Divine Guard before we can fight against Qiu Changkong. Someone sighed. The next moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Lu Ming. On their side, only Lu Ming's talent was unparalleled, and he had the potential to fight Qiu Changkong. The Detian Divine Guards. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. It was reasonable to say that he should stay away from the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, because the Palace Master of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, Martial Emperor De, was his destined enemy. However, Martial Emperor De was still far away from the Tianxian region, so he didn't have to worry about it for the time being. Moreover, Lu Ming also yearned to become an Emperor Sky Divine Guard. It was said that the Detian divine guards were all peerless geniuses from all over the world, and they were unimaginably powerful. Only by constantly clashing with these monsters could he become stronger, stimulate his potential, and improve quickly. Seeing that Lu Ming was deep in thought, everyone looked at him without saying a word. If Lu Ming did not wish to participate in the Detian divine guard selection, they would not force him. "I'm willing to go, but I don't know how to go," Lu Ming said. The others were overjoyed to see Lu Ming nodding. "Haha, it's very easy to participate. The emissary of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace is currently patrolling the Blazing Sun Empire. It won't be long before he sends out an invitation letter to the geniuses of the Blazing Sun Empire. Only with an invitation letter can one participate in the selection of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards." The Valley Master was overjoyed. "Oh, so that's how it is." Lu Ming nodded. "Marquis Champion, with your talent, you'll definitely receive an invitation. Although the Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards will be facing the endless eastern territory of the Tianxian region, where there are countless geniuses, it's not impossible for you to get a reserve position for the Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards with your talent. At that time you'll have the confidence to fight against Cho Chongkong." Lin Shui stroked her beard and her face revealed a happy expression. "Preparing for the Detian Divine Guard? It might not be?" Lu Ming was stunned. Could it be that Lin Shui thought that he couldn't even get into the reserve Detian Divine Guard? Lin Shui seemed to have read Lu Ming's mind and explained, "Marquis Champion, the eastern part of the Tianxian region is too vast. The Cloud Emperor mountain range we are in is just a corner of the region. Beyond the Cloud Emperor mountain range, there are many other regions that are even larger than the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Each region has many powerful empires. For example, there is a region near the Cloud Emperor mountain range called the Thousand River region. There are more than 100 empires in this region. The strongest one is a high-level empire. It is 100 times stronger than the Burning Sun Empire. There are many geniuses and monstrous talents. This is only the Thousand River region. There are other stronger regions, so the competition is too strong." Lin Shui finished and sighed. "That's right. In the past, even when all the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor's list were annihilated, none of them became reserve Emperor Sky Divine Guards. The geniuses on the Cloud Emperor's list this time are much stronger. However, I predict that there will be no more than 3 who can become real Emperor Sky Divine Guards and no more than 10 who can become reserve Emperor Sky Divine Guards." The Valley Master also sighed. Lu Ming was speechless. Less than 3 of the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor's list could become official Detian Divine Guards. The competition was really terrifying. However, the next moment Lu Ming's eyes were burning with flames again, and his blood was boiling. Wasn't this what he wanted? To fight with geniuses and heroes, to break the shackles, to realize self-ascension, and to constantly surpass. Looking at Lu Ming's burning fighting spirit, Lin Shui and the rest looked at each other. They saw hope in each other's eyes. Given the situation in the Blazing Sun Empire, they could only pin their hopes on Lu Ming. At this moment, Lin Shui's expression suddenly changed. She waved her hand, and a 10,000-mile sound transmission talisman appeared in her hand. He was overjoyed when he saw the message in the talisman. "The emissary from the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace has sent someone over. He's probably here to issue an invitation. Let's go and welcome him." The group hurriedly walked out of the hall and flew outside. In the sky outside the mystical sword sect, a young man stood alone with his hands behind his back. The young man was about 26 or 27 years old. He wore a purple robe and was filled with a noble aura. "I am the sect master of the mystical sword sect, Lin Shui. Greetings, emissary of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. I am the Valley Master of the Scarlet Cloud Valley, Ling Patian. Greetings, emissary of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace." Lin Shui and Ling Patian hurriedly cupped their fists and saluted. "In." The young man in purple nodded his head and glanced at Lin Shui and Ling Patian. "It's good that the Crimson Cloud Valley is here. It saves me the trouble of making an extra trip." After saying that, 2 golden invitation letters appeared in the purple-robed young man's hands. With a wave of his hand, the 2 invitation letters flew towards Lin Shui and Ling Patian. Lin Shui and Ling Patian reached out to receive it. These 2 invitation letters, one for Feng Wuji and the other for Ling Yanqi. Get them to bring the invitation letters to the Cloud Desolate Empire to participate in the preliminaries. The young man in purple said indifferently. The young man in purple turned around and was about to leave. Envoy, please wait. Lin Shui hurriedly called out. What's wrong? Do you have any questions? The young man in purple turned around with a cold expression. Emissary, may I ask why Lu Ming doesn't have an invitation? Lin Shui asked carefully. Lu Ming. The young man in purple sneered and said, what's so strange about not having an invitation? Just means that he's not qualified. Alright, there are no other questions. That's it. Emissary. Lin Shui gritted her teeth and shouted again, Messenger, did you make a mistake? With Lu Ming's talent and reputation, how could he not have an invitation? Can the messenger help to ask the higher-ups? That's right, Emissary. I think there's really a mistake. How could the marquee champion Lu Ming not have an invitation? Ling Patian also said. Even Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi had invitation letters. How could Lu Ming not have one? One must know that Lu Ming could already kill geniuses at the level of the 6 Scorching Sun heroes. During the battle with the mystical sword sect, Duanmu Lin was even killed by him. One must know that Duanmu Lin had defeated Feng Wuji. In the end, Feng Wuji had an invitation but Lu Ming did not. It was really strange. Myriad Paths of the Dragon Emperor. Chapter 352. 352 The Young Half-Step King. What's wrong? Are you guys suspecting me? Or are you doubting the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace? Oh. The young man in purple's face turned cold as he stared at Lin Shui and Ling Patian with hostility. Lin Shui and Ling Potion's expressions changed. However, whether Lu Ming could participate in the assessment was related to the situation in the Burning Sun Empire and the life and death of the mystical sword sect and the Crimson Cloud Valley. He had to be clear about this. Emissary, it's a misunderstanding. However, Lu Ming does not have an invitation. It's really strange. Could you please report this to the higher-ups? Lin Shui gritted her teeth and continued. Impudent. Before Lin Shui could finish her sentence, the young man in purple shouted. At the same time, a terrifying aura burst out from the young man in purple. This aura was as heavy as a mountain and as vast as the ocean. It was extremely powerful and vast. Half-Step King. Lin Shui and Ling Patian exclaimed in unison. At the same time, a powerful aura erupted from their bodies to offset this force. However, their bodies couldn't help but sway and retreat 3 steps. Strong, he was too strong. Everyone was shocked and stared at the young man in purple with wide eyes. No one would have thought that this purple-robed youth was actually a half-step king. He looked like he was only 26 or 27 years old. At such a young age, he had already reached the half-step king realm. This was truly shocking. Moreover, it seemed that he was even stronger than Lin Shui. Is this the strength of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace? Just a random young man who came to the Blazing Sun Empire to deliver an invitation letter is already so powerful. At the side, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed and his expression turned grave. The Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace naturally has their own reasons for doing things. How can I allow you all to be suspicious? Since this is your first offense, I won't pursue it. But if there's a next time, I don't mind killing you all. The young man in purple's eyes were gloomy as he spoke coldly. He was filled with an arrogant attitude. Sect leader Lin, say no more. Lu Ming had sent a voice transmission to Lin Shui. Lin Shui and Ling Patian let out a long sigh and didn't say anything else. The young man in purple snorted coldly and left with a wave of his sleeve. Just as he turned around, he glanced at Lu Ming with a cold look in his eyes. Although it was just a flash, Lu Ming still caught it. What was going on? I've never seen this person before, and I don't have any grudges with the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Why does this person look at me with a hint of coldness in his eyes? Lu Ming frowned and pondered. What's going on? Why didn't the Marquis Champion receive an invitation? Ling Potion's temper was more impatient, and as soon as the young man in purple left, Ling Patian cried out. That's right, this matter is too strange. Lin Xue's brows were also tightly furrowed, full of worry. Without an invitation, one could not take part in the Diqian Divine Guard assessment. If Cho Chongkong hadn't joined the Diqian Divine Guards, it would have been fine. But if he had joined the Diqian Divine Guards, even if he was only a reserve, they would all be in danger. Sect leaders, Marquis Champion, I have a guess, but I don't know if it's true or not. At this moment an old voice was heard. An old man with white hair walked out. Senior Hua, do you have any guesses? Lin Xue hurriedly asked. This old man was a senior of the royal family. Even if Hua Zhengxing was still alive, he would have to call this man uncle. His seniority was extremely high, and his cultivation was at the 9th level of the martial ancestor realm. He was the only 9th level martial ancestor expert left in the imperial family. The old imperial uncle pondered for a moment before saying, I like to make friends with people from all over the world. I even have friends in the 10 Direction Sword sect. I once heard a secret that when Cho Chongkong was young, he was taken in as an in-name disciple by an important figure in the eastern branch of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. What? Cho Chongkong is an in-name disciple of an important figure in the eastern branch of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace? The old imperial uncle's words were like a bomb, causing everyone's minds to rumble. All of them looked at the old imperial uncle in shock. Senior, is what you said true? Lin Xue's voice was trembling. The old imperial uncle nodded and said, there shouldn't be a mistake. Sisigu. Everyone gasped, and the atmosphere became extremely oppressive and heavy. If that's the case, Cho Chongkong must have done something. Otherwise, with the Marquis Champion's talent, how could he not have received an invitation? Lin Xue said in a deep voice, her eyes were filled with seriousness. What should we do? With such a powerful figure backing Cho Chongkong, doesn't that mean that he'll definitely be able to join the Empyrean Sky Divine Guards? A golden-robed elder said. That's not necessarily the case. The selection of the Diqian Divine Guards has its own rules. You can't join just because you have a backer. In the end, it still depends on your own strength. Ling Padian said. Not bad. The others all nodded. Even so, the atmosphere at the scene was still extremely oppressive. Seniors, there's no need to be so worried. At that time, it'll just be a battle. Who will win? Before the battle, who would know? At this moment, Lu Ming shouted. There was no sign of dejection on his face. He stood straight, still confident and determined, like a divine spear that could shatter the heavens. So what if Cho Chongkong had a powerful backer? At most, it would just be a battle. Marquis Champion is right. Things haven't reached the worst point yet. We don't have to be discouraged. Right now, the only way is to keep improving our strength. Lin Xue said. After that, everyone returned to the main hall and discussed for a while before leaving. It was just that everyone's heart was weighed down by a huge stone, and it was difficult to let go for a while. Lu Ming returned to the Blood Red Army camp's main tent and entered the Supreme Shrine. He sat down cross-legged. Strength. No matter what the situation is, as long as you are strong enough, you can solivere everything. Lu Ming thought to himself. Then he waved his hand and a pile of spiritual herbs appeared on the platform. Lu Ming planned to start cultivating the 10,000 spiritual combat body. It had been a while since he had cultivated his physical body. The reason was that he didn't have any high-level spiritual herbs. Those level 1 and level 2 spiritual herbs were not effective in cultivating, and were a waste of time. During this period of time there had been many battles. Lu Ming had killed a large number of martial arts grandmasters and obtained their storage rings. There were quite a number of level 4 spiritual herbs. Previously, Lu Ming had already achieved initial success in the 5th grade physical body. Only level 4 spiritual herbs would have a greater effect on his improvement. With a wave of his hand, 2 level 4 spiritual herbs were caught in Lu Ming's hand. He began to circulate the 10,000 spiritual combat body. Not long after, the 2 spiritual herbs turned into the chi of myriad spirits and seeped into the depths of Lu Ming's body, refining the strength of his physical body. After refining 2, he took out another 2. Time slowly passed as Lu Ming cultivated. Vermilion Bird Hall, Yin Lan's residence. Lan Do you really want to go to that place? Yanlan looked at Mulan anxiously. Grandfather, is there any other way? Only by going to that place can we get an invitation for Lu Ming and let him participate in the selection of the Diqian Divine Guards. Mulan said with a determined expression. Lan you have to consider this carefully. Yanlan sighed. Chapter 353. 353 Lu Ming's Invitation. Grandfather, with Lu Ming's talent, joining the Diqian Divine Guards is the best choice. Only then can he fully display his talent and achieve greater achievements. Moreover, only by doing so can we save the mystical sword sect and keep you safe, grandfather. Oh, Mulan said. Lan are you yourself? I've been wronged. Yanlan said worriedly. Grandpa, don't you trust Lu Ming? I believe in him. As long as he joins the Diqian Divine Guards, he'll be able to truly return my freedom. At this point, Mulan's eyes glowed. It was the light of her firm belief in Lu Ming. It's difficult. Although Lu Ming is extremely talented, that's only in the Blazing Sun Empire. In the Imperial Sky Divine Guards, he's very ordinary. It's difficult to achieve that. Yanlan sighed. Grandpa, I believe in my judgment. Don't worry, I'll be fine. I'll be going now, Grandpa. With that, Mulan bowed to Yanlan and then floated away, disappearing from the Vermilion Bird Hall. Lu Ming naturally knew nothing about this. 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. In 7 days, Lu Ming had refined more than 500 level 4 spiritual herbs and cultivated his physical body to the perfected 5th grade physical body. However, at this point, no matter how many spiritual herbs Lu Ming refined, his physical body could not break through. He was completely stuck at the perfected 5th grade physical body. It seems that level 4 spiritual herbs are too low. They can't help my body break through to level 6. Lu Ming pondered secretly. Do I need level 5 spiritual herbs or other level 5 treasures? At the thought of this, Lu Ming shook his head and smiled bitterly. Level 5 spiritual herbs and other level 5 treasures were equivalent to king tiers. If they were treasures that even king tiers could use, how precious would they be? It was something that could only be encountered and not sought. I'll put my fleshly body aside for now. A complete 5th grade fleshly body is enough for now. Even among half-step kings, not many people have a 5th grade fleshly body. Many martial artists who did not focus on cultivating their bodies would not even reach the 5th grade when they reached the half-step king realm. Only after stepping into the martial king realm and going through the power of heaven and earth, as well as the transformation of the true essence unique to kings, could one's body reach the 5th grade. In other words, Lu Ming's current physical body was no longer inferior to those martial kings who did not specialize in physical cultivation. Of course, that was only his physical body. His combat strength was still miles away from that of a martial king. After that, Lu Ming began to study the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. The 9 dragons' sky-treading steps and the last of the 3 palms, the heavenly path palm, were the martial arts techniques that Lu Ming had to comprehend and cultivate every day. However, the cultivation of these 2 martial arts techniques was too difficult. Up until now, Lu Ming had not succeeded in cultivating the 2nd step of the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. As for the heaven's path palm, he knew nothing about it. Time flew by and another 5 days passed. There were only a few days left before the start of the Diqian Divine Guard's preliminary competition. On this day, Mulan came to look for Lu Ming. Senior sister Mulan, I heard that you've been out during this period of time. Lu Ming asked Mulan with a smile. Mulan hummed softly and looked at Lu Ming, seemingly deep in thought. Senior sister Mulan seems to have something on her mind. Lu Ming's heart stirred. However, since Mulan didn't say anything, he didn't ask. After a long while, Lu Ming's palm glowed and a golden piece of paper suddenly appeared. This is an invitation to the Diqian Divine Guard selection? Lu Ming's eyes flickered and he could not help but blurt out. Mulan nodded. She opened the invitation and revealed the words inside. Blazing Sun Empire Lu Ming. On the invitation there were 6 words in gold. Why is it me? Lu Ming's pupils suddenly shrank and he cried out in disbelief. In the beginning, Lu Ming thought that Mulan had taken out someone else's invitation. It was like the wind, fearless, and Ling Yanqi. He had never expected his name to be on the invitation. Oh, Lu Ming. This is the invitation letter for the Ditian Divine Guard selection. Take it. I hope that you can defeat Qiu Changkong and successfully join the Ditian Divine Guard. Mulan finally revealed a faint smile. Senior Sister Mulan, where did you get this invitation? Lu Ming asked, feeling extremely curious. The invitation from the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace couldn't be faked because there were special inscriptions carved on it that made it easy to distinguish. No one would dare to impersonate him unless they wanted to die. Your senior sister, have my own ways. You don't have to worry about that. Take it and perform well. I believe in you. Mulan passed the invitation to Lu Ming and said with a smile. Lu Ming received it in a daze. Lu Ming, I might have to leave the mystical sword sect from today onwards. Suddenly Mulan sighed. What? Senior Sister Mulan, you're leaving the mystical sword sect? Are you going to gain experience or? Lu Ming asked hurriedly. He felt that things were very strange. None of them. Mulan shook her head and studied Lu Ming carefully. After a while she said, Lu Ming, as long as you join the Ditian Divine Guards, perhaps we'll meet again. Mulan suddenly stepped forward and pulled Lu Ming into her arms. Lu Ming was stunned. The next moment he felt 2 lumps of meat squeezed on his chest. They were shockingly elastic. Mulan's body fragrance wafted into his nose, making Lu Ming's heart beat rapidly. Mulan hugged Lu Ming tightly. After a long while, she suddenly let go of him. Her face was flushed red. She glanced at Lu Ming, then turned around and left. Lu Ming joined the Ditian Divine Guard. I look forward to seeing you again. The voice came faintly, but the beauty had already disappeared. Senior Sister Mulan. Lu Ming stared in the direction that Mulan had left in a daze. He did not come back to his senses for a long time. Lu Ming only came to his senses after a long while. What's going on? Why would Senior Sister Mulan have an invitation from the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace? Also, where is she going? Lu Ming's heart was full of doubts. Buzz. Lu Ming's figure moved and he appeared in the sky. He looked into the distance and saw that Mulan had already left. He did not know where she went. Dean, yes, go and ask the Dean. Lu Ming thought of Yin Lan. Yin Lan was Mulan's grandfather, so she should know the inside story. After a while, Lu Ming found Yin Lan in the Vermilion Bird Hall. It had been a while since they last met and Yin Lan seemed to have aged a lot. Lu Ming's heart tightened and he felt that something was not right. Lu Ming, take a seat. Yin Lan invited Lu Ming to take a seat and poured him a cup of tea. I knew you'd come looking for me. You want to ask about Lan right? Yin Lan said. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded and immediately asked his question. Yin Lan was silent. He seemed to have fallen into deep memories. After a while he sighed. Lu Ming, I'll tell you everything. That girl Lan is stubborn. She won't say anything. Lu Ming, you know that I'm Lan grandfather, but you've never met her parents, have you? Yin Lan said. Lu Ming was stunned and immediately shook his head. It was true that he had never met Mulan's parents before, nor had he heard Mulan mention them. Lan mother passed away a long time ago. As for Lan father, he's an important figure in the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Yin Lan revealed a shocking secret. Chapter 354. 354 Mulan's past. What? Oh. Lu Ming was dumbfounded and shocked. Mulan's father was actually a big shot in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. This had completely exceeded his expectations. Since Mulan's father was an important figure in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, why did Mulan stay in the mystical sword sect instead of cultivating in the palace? The cultivation conditions in the palace were definitely not something that the mystical sword sect could compare to. Yin Lan seemed to have read Lu Ming's mind and continued. Lan father is a major character in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. He is extremely tyrannical and acts arbitrarily. Before Lan turned 15, she was in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. However, her father tried to control her. After that, without Lan Er's consent, his father arranged a marriage for her. The marriage partner is a peerless genius of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. However, Lan Er didn't like him at all. Therefore, in a fit of anger, she ran out of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and came to my place. Yin Lan's answer cleared up many of Lu Ming's doubts. Lu Ming understood now. Mulan must have helped him get his invitation card when she returned to the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. This made Lu Ming even more worried. He said, "Did senior sister Mulan return to the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace this time? Wouldn't that mean we're facing marriage?" He did not know why, but he felt a little uncomfortable at the thought of Mulan being engaged to someone else. That's right. In order to obtain that invitation, Lan Er has already promised her father to stay in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. Now the only person who can save her and prevent her from marrying someone she doesn't like is you, Yin Lan said. Me? Lu Ming was stunned. That's right. Lan Er once made an agreement with her father. Lan Er said that the person she liked would definitely be stronger than the genius of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. One day, she would bring the person she liked to the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and defeat that genius to break off the engagement. That person is you. Yin Lan looked at Lu Ming with bright eyes. Oh, me? I'm fucked. Lu Ming's eyes almost popped out. The person Mulan likes? He. Lu Ming's heart was beating rapidly. He recalled the various things that happened when Mulan left. Taking a deep breath to calm himself down, Lu Ming said firmly, "Principal, don't worry. I'll definitely join the Detian Divine Guards and defeat that genius to return senior sister Mulan her freedom." It's difficult. Yin Lan sighed and said, "I heard from Lan Er that the genius had already broken through to the Martial King realm 3 years ago. Now I don't even know what realm he has reached. That genius is only 1 year older than Lan Er." Martial King? Lu Ming's pupils constricted. Mulan was not even 23 years old. In other words, the genius of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace was only 24 years old. 3 years ago, he was only 21 years old. Breaking through to the Martial King realm at the age of 21 was truly terrifying. Lu Ming was 18 years old now, almost 19 years old. However, he was not confident that he could break through to the Martial King realm at 21 years old. He was indeed a terrifying genius. The geniuses of the Blazing Sun Empire, no, even the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor ranking were a pile of trash compared to him. After a while, Lu Ming's eyes burst with a strong fighting spirit and an unshakable determination. "Don't worry, Dean. No matter how strong he is, I'll defeat him sooner or later and set senior sister Mulan free." "All right. Lan Er believes in you and so do I. However, Lu Ming, with your current cultivation and combat strength, it'll be very difficult for you to join the Detian Divine Guards. I hope you can make another breakthrough." Yin Lan's eyes seemed to reveal a trace of hope. After that, Lu Ming chatted with Yin Lan for a while before he bade farewell and left. A day later, the news that Lu Ming had received an invitation to the Detian Divine Guard selection spread among the higher-ups of the mystical sword sect and the Crimson Cloud Valley. This caused those who knew to be shocked, and then they were overjoyed. Although they were curious as to how Lu Ming had obtained the invitation, that was not the main point. The main point was that Lu Ming could participate in the selection of the Detian Divine Guards, which gave them a glimmer of hope. At this time, the preliminaries of the 36 countries of Emperor Yun were getting closer and closer, and it was time to set off. Lu Ming bade farewell to Lu Yuntian and Li Ping. Qiu Yu said that she had not seen Lu Yuntian and Li Ping for a long time and wanted to stay by their side to take care of them. Naturally, Lu Ming nodded in agreement. On the other hand, Xian Yanqing wanted to go with Lu Ming. The reason was that he wanted to meet the geniuses from the 36 countries of Emperor Yun. 2 days later, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Feng Wuji, and Ling Yanqi left the mystical sword sect and headed west. Lu Ming did not bring the golden-eyed blood corpse or the flame spring. The golden-eyed blood corpse and Yin Quan were important forces in the battle. If they left, it would be bad for the battle. Moreover, Lu Ming had the intention of leaving the golden-eyed blood corpse behind to protect Lu Yuntian and Li Ping. The Cloud Desolate Empire was one of the 8 medium empires in the Cloud Emperor mountain range. However, it was very powerful and was ranked first among the 8 medium empires. This was why the Cloud Emperor mountain range preliminaries were held in the Cloud Desolate Empire's imperial capital. Starting from the mystical sword sect, one would have to pass through 8 empires along the way. It was a long journey of more than 700,000 li. However, with everyone's cultivation, if they flew at full speed, it was still quite easy to fly 10,000 miles in an hour. Including the rest time, they used 5 days to rush to the Cloud Desolate Empire's imperial capital. The Cloud Desolate Empire was indeed worthy of being the strongest empire among the 36 countries of Emperor Yun. Just the imperial capital alone was 10 times larger than the Burning Sun Empire's imperial capital. It was grand and majestic with no end in sight. On the city wall, rows of armored soldiers patrolled. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed when he saw them. These armored soldiers were actually martial artists of the Great Martial Master realm. Each of them had powerful auras and penetrating gazes. Lu Ming secretly sighed. The #1 empire in the Cloud Emperor mountain range was really powerful. After entering the city gate, the inside was extremely spacious. The street was 200 meters wide, and all kinds of beast roars could be heard. Many people were riding all kinds of mounts and strolling on the streets. Lu Ming even saw a martial artist riding a huge python that was more than 30 meters long, and as thick as a water tank, wandering on the street. On both sides of the street there were many shops. A few spirit weapon shops were sparkling with treasure light. In some spirit herb shops the fragrance of herbs assailed the nose. Lu Ming and the few of them walked as they watched, full of admiration. On the way, they could see young martial artists passing by from time to time, all of them with an imposing appearance and extraordinary aura. One look and one could tell that they were dragons and phoenixes among people. They should all be here to participate in the qualifiers. Brother Lu, Brother Feng, Miss Ya, let's find a place to eat. We've been hurrying on our journey these past few days and haven't had a good meal. I'm so tired of eating. Ling Yanqi touched his stomach and grinned. All right. Lu Ming nodded. The few of them walked around for a while and came to the front of a restaurant. The Drunken Pavilion was the name of this restaurant. It was 7 stories high and covered an area of several acres. Dear guests, please come in. At the entrance of the restaurant, a waiter came to greet them. Chapter 355. 355 The Blue Blade Family. The 4 of them followed the waiter and arrived at the 5th floor of the restaurant. Oh, the 5th floor was extremely spacious. On one side there were private rooms and on the other side there was a hall. They didn't choose a private room but found a seat by the window. From this position he could see a lake from the window. The lake was clear like a mirror, and when the breeze blew it was extremely comfortable. Waiter, if there's anything good to eat, bring it all to me. Also, bring me 4 jars of good wine. Ling Yanqi shouted. All right. The waiter replied. It was very fast, and it didn't take long for a table full of food and wine to be served. The 4 of them ate while listening to the conversations of the other people in the restaurant. It's really lively recently. All the great geniuses can't sit still anymore. There's competition from time to time. That's right, I've seen a few battles on the Cloud Emperor board. That level of cultivation is really shocking. The ordinary geniuses on the Cloud Emperor ranking are still okay, especially those who are ranked higher. They are really terrifying. Half a month ago, Ji Ruffing, the 7th genius on the Cloud Emperor ranking, killed 3 late-stage martial grandmasters in Tianyuan Peak with 1 strike. That's more terrifying. That's nothing. I heard that 10 days ago, a sect angered the 2nd-ranked young master of the Cloud Emperor ranking, Wei Tianxi. Wei Tianxi went to the sect and annihilated the entire sect. That sect had a few 9-grade martial ancestor realm experts. What? There's actually such a thing? Wei Tianxi is too terrifying. Lu Ming and the other 3 heard the discussions around them. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi were shocked. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with solemnness. It was impossible for Lu Ming to kill 3 martial arts grandmasters in the later stage of the 8th level with a single sword strike, let alone annihilate a sect that had a few martial arts grandmaster 9th level powerhouses. The top geniuses on the Cloud Emperor board were indeed amazing. Also, there's a young master Hualing who recently emerged. He defeated Yuan Jifei, who was ranked 15th on the Cloud Emperor ranking. He's the strongest dark horse. That's right. This person can be said to be the strongest among the rising stars. Don't forget that there's another person who's also a dark horse. Oh, who is it? Qiu Wuyang. He was born in the small blazing Sun Empire, but he rose to power. He was ranked 36th on the Cloud Emperor ranking and killed the genius ranked 22nd not long ago. I heard that 5 days ago, Qian Jun, who was ranked 11th on the Cloud Emperor ranking, also suffered a loss at his hands. What? Qian Jun had actually lost to Zhou Chongkong? Zhou Chongkong is so terrifying. He's going to make it into the top 10. In the Cloud Emperor mountain range, this generation of young people is indeed very powerful. I wonder if they can compete with the geniuses from other regions. Zhou Chongkong has actually become so strong. Feng Wuji murmured, his eyes were filled with shock and fear. As one of the Scorching Sun's 6 heroes, the difference between us and him is too great. Ling Yanqi sighed and was also very serious. The stronger Zhou Chongkong was, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He did not say anything and continued drinking. Xian Yanqing's mouth twitched slightly, and he seemed to be a little disdainful. Then the 4 of them ate while listening. Squeak! At this moment, the door of another private room opened, and 4 young men walked out. These 4 young men were all wearing blue robes, embroidered with a sky blue long blade. This is a person from the Cloud Desolate Empire's Blue Blade family. Could the person in the box be an important figure of the Blue Blade family? I know who it is. It's the second young master of the Blue Blade family, Lan Yunfei. I saw him go in earlier. The 4 blue-robed young men caused a wave of discussion to break out, but the voices were very low, as if they were very afraid. The 4 youths from the Blue Blade family were actually walking towards Lu Ming and the other 3. He walked to the 4 of them, and one of them, a young man in a blue robe, cupped his fists and said, "May I know where the 4 of you are from?" Although he cupped his fists, his tone was arrogant, as if he was giving an order. Lu Ming frowned slightly. He did not like the other party's attitude. "We are from the Burning Sun Empire." Feng Wuji didn't want to offend anyone. He stood up and clasped his fists. The Burning Sun Empire. When the 4 blue-robed young men heard this, their eyes revealed a look of contempt. So it's the Scorching Sun Empire, that godforsaken place. All right, I won't waste my breath on you. My second young master is going to invite a friend to a banquet today. This girl looks quite good, so he wants to invite her to accompany him for a drink. All right, come with me. A young man in a blue robe said scornfully. Then he looked at Xian Yanqing and ordered. It turned out that they were here because they had their eyes on Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming frowned again while Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi looked anxious. Xian Yanqing's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. He glanced at the 4 blue-robed young men and said, "Your second young master, which dog is he? Are you worthy of this lady accompanying you to drink?" As soon as he said that, the 4 blue-robed young men's expressions changed. The expressions of the other people in the restaurant also changed drastically. She's finished. A mere woman from the Burning Sun Empire dared to call Lan Yunfei a dog. She's finished. She's doomed to a miserable fate. The Blazing Sun Empire is too small after all. Other than Zhou Chongkong, there are no other geniuses. Their knowledge is so shallow that they even dare to offend the Blue Blade family. The other people in the restaurant lowered their voices and whispered among themselves, as if they were afraid that the Blue Blade family would hear them. "Bitch, what the fuck did you just say?" A young man in a blue robe pointed at Xian Yanqing and roared. "What did you just call me? Slap your own mouths 100 each or I'll break your legs." Xian Yanqing glanced at them and said coldly. The others were shocked. Crazy, too crazy. The Blue Blade family was arrogant, but Xian Yanqing was even more arrogant. I guess she is a rare genius in the Blazing Sun Empire and is used to being arrogant. However, this is not the Blazing Sun Empire, but the Cloud Desolate Empire, where all the geniuses from the 36 countries of the Cloud Desolate Empire are gathered. How can she be arrogant? Someone in the restaurant shook his head and sighed. What did you just say? Break our legs? Ha ha ha, laughable, laughable. A mere piece of trash from the Burning Sun Empire dares to say that he will break our legs. This is too laughable. The 4 blue-robed young men sneered. Little bitch, I originally wanted you to drink with me and forget about it. Now not only do I want you to drink with me, but I also want you to sleep with me. Get over there. A blue-robed young man clawed at Xian Yanqing's hair. The claw contained a powerful true qi. This blue-robed young man was actually a martial arts grandmaster 3-dan expert. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi's faces changed drastically. They shouted, "Be careful!" Bang! The next moment a figure flew out. It was the blue-robed young man. He flew more than 10 meters away and crashed into a few tables and chairs. He fell to the ground and screamed in pain. His 2 legs were bent and deformed, having been broken. Chapter 356. 356 Xian Yanqing's rage. The others were stunned. Oh! The blue-robed young man was definitely not a weakling. He had reached the 3rd tier of the martial ancestor realm at such a young age. He was definitely an elite that the Blue Blade family had nurtured with great care. His combat strength was definitely not something that ordinary martial artists of the same realm could compare to. However, in the hands of Xian Yanqing, he couldn't even last one move. Many people didn't even see when Xian Yanqing made his move. Only a small number of geniuses focused their eyes and saw how Xian Yanqing attacked. Little bitch, how dare you hit a member of the Blue Blade family? You're looking for death. Attack. Let's attack together. Take this bitch down and torture him. Boom. 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 The remaining 3 blue-robed young men roared as powerful auras erupted from their bodies. Each of them had the cultivation of the 3rd level of the martial ancestor realm. When the 3 of them joined forces, their power was terrifying. Feng Wuji's and Ling Yanqi's expressions changed. They were about to help, but Lu Ming smiled at them, telling them not to worry. Slap his mouth. At this moment, Xian Yanqing shouted and waved his hands. Black lotuses appeared one after another. Then the black petals broke the 3 young men's attacks like divine blades. Buzz! Xian Yanqing moved and appeared in front of the 3 young men. He extended his palm. Pa! 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 3 loud slaps were heard and the 3 blue-robed young men were sent flying. Whoosh! Whoosh! Before the 3 young men could land on the ground, Xian Yanqing waved his hand and lotus petals flew towards the legs of the 3 young men. Stop! A furious shout came from the private room. However, Xian Yanqing didn't care at all. The black petals didn't stop. The black petals all hit the legs of the 3 blue-robed young men. By the time they fell to the ground, their legs were already covered in blood and wounds. Even their bones could be seen. CSI. Gasps could be heard all around. What a powerful battle strength, what a ruthless method. If he said he would break their legs, he would immediately break their legs. Buzz. At this time, the sound of something breaking through the air was heard. A blue figure rushed out of the private room and appeared in the hall. The young man looked to be around 23 or 24 years old. He was wearing a sky blue tight-fitting robe, a blue jade belt around his waist, and a pair of blue and gold combat boots. He was full of luxury. However, his face was as dark as winter. Lan Yunfei, it's really him. It's over. That woman is finished. Even her companions are dead for sure. He even dared to beat up the people of the Blue Blade family. Lan Yunfei will never stop. Although Lan Yunfei didn't enter the Cloud Emperor board, he is very close to it. I heard that he has already said that he will definitely enter the Cloud Emperor board this time. Besides the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor ranking, there are only a handful of people who can fight with Lan Yunfei. The other people in the restaurant looked at Xian Yanqing, including Lu Ming, as if they were looking at a dead man. I told you to stop, didn't you hear me? Lan Yunfei looked at Xian Yanqing coldly. A hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. He didn't get a good look when he was in the room, but now that he got a closer look, he realized that Xian Yanqing was even more stunning. I did, but who are you? Do I have to do as I'm told? Xian Yanqing looked at Lan Yunfei with disdain. Do you know the consequences of not following my orders? If I attack, I'll either die or be injured. Lan Yunfei sneered and continued, but I'll let you go since you're a woman. How about this? I'll lock up the three of them first, and you'll come back with me to serve me. If you're comfortable with it, I'll consider letting you go. This condition is already the biggest concession I can make. As Lan Yunfei spoke, his eyes flashed with lust as he scanned Xian Yanqing's body. Xian Yanqing frowned. Lu Ming, Feng Wuji, and Ling Yanqi were all dumbfounded. Is there something wrong with this brother? Didn't he see that there were 4 of them now, while he was alone? He even said that they would be locked up first and asked Xian Yanqing to go back and serve him. Wasn't he too full of himself? Lu Ming had seen many people who felt good about them slaviers. However, the man in front of him was definitely ranked first. Brother Feng, Brother Ling, why do you think I'm so unlucky? Why do I have to run into idiots everywhere I go? I'm just having a meal, and I'm actually able to run into such a weird idiot. I'm speechless. Lu Ming picked up a glass of wine and downed it in one gulp, sighing and groaning. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi looked at each other and did not say a word. They were not as bold as Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming did not lower his voice, and it spread throughout the entire floor of the restaurant. The scene fell into a dead silence. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in a daze. Lu Ming actually dared to say that about Lan Yunfei. How could these people of the Burning Sun Empire be so arrogant? He's really a country bumpkin who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Many people thought. Kid, who are you talking about? Lan Yunfei let out a furious shriek. His facial features were contorted, and he looked at Lu Ming with an extremely sinister expression. I'll say who answered. Lu Ming continued to hold up his wine glass and replied indifferently. He then drank the wine in one gulp. You're looking for death, you're looking for death. Now I take back what I just said. You're dead. No condition can save you. Lan Yunfei bellowed in rage. A powerful aura burst out from his body. A ray of sword light rushed up and slashed toward Lu Ming. I'm your opponent. Xian Yanqing's eyes turned cold. She waved her hands and a black lotus appeared in front of the sword radiance. Clang! The sword light struck the black lotus flower, causing sparks to fly in all directions. The sword light was blocked. If you dare to stop me, I'll kill you as well. Lan Yunfei was completely enraged. His killing intent rose. His sword hummed softly and beams of sharp sword chi shot towards Xian Yanqing. He was at the peak of the 4th level of the martial ancestor realm. Lan Yunfei's cultivation had already reached the peak of the 4th level martial ancestor realm. No wonder he was second only to the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor ranking. On the Cloud Emperor ranking, the few people who were ranked at the bottom were only at the early stage of the 5th level of the martial ancestor realm. Who can you kill? Xian Yanqing sneered as a powerful aura burst out from his body. Martial Ancestor 4 Dan later stage. During this period of time, Xian Yanqing's progress was also extremely shocking. He fully utilized the advantage of a 7th level king bloodline. Great demonic palm. Xian Yanqing waved his hands and sent out palm prints towards Lan Yunfei. He didn't know what level Xian Yanqing's martial technique was. When she was a martial grandmaster, she used the same martial technique. Now that she was a martial ancestor, she was using the same martial technique. Moreover, as Xian Yanqing's cultivation level increased, the power of this martial skill became more and more terrifying. Boom! Boom! In an instant, the palm print and the sword light collided 8 times in a row, producing 8 loud bangs. Of course, in their moves, they had deliberately compressed their true energy and did not let it spread out. Otherwise, the entire restaurant would have been blown up. To be able to build such a huge restaurant in the Cloud Desolate Empire's imperial capital was not something an ordinary person could do. If he blew it up, it would probably be hard to explain. After 8 moves, Lan Yunfei retreated 8 steps. He was completely at a disadvantage. The other people in the restaurant were dumbfounded. Chapter 357. 357 Chapter 357 Seeing Yang 6 Extremes Again. How could an unknown woman of the Burning Sun Empire suppress Lan Yunfei? How was this possible? Oh, if the truth wasn't right in front of their eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. Arg! Die! Lan Yunfei's anger soared to the sky. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. With a loud roar, bloodlight exploded and a sky-blue broadsword appeared. Around the broadsword, there were 2 Asilavira chakras. This was Lan Yunfei's bloodline, a second-level king bloodline. Slash! His bloodline exploded, increasing Lan Yunfei's combat strength by a notch. He slashed at Xian Yanqing. I'm too lazy to play with you. Xian Yanqing's eyes turned cold as he raised his hand. At this moment, a jade-like hand also condensed in the air. This hand wasn't real. It was at least 10 times bigger than Xian Yanqing's hand. It was perfect, like the most perfect work of art. Just like Xian Yanqing's hand, it was in the shape of a flower and full of demonic charm. Break! Immediately, Xian Yanqing shouted and flicked his flower-pinching fingers. Bang! The blade light of Lan Yunfei's slash was instantly destroyed. The finger force did not stop and shot toward Lan Yunfei. Lan Yunfei's expression changed drastically. It was too late for him to dodge, so he could only block with his saber. With a boom, Lan Yunfei groaned and retreated more than 10 meters. He crashed into a few tables before he could stabilize himself. Blood spurted out of his mouth. Sisigu! Gasps could be heard all around. Xian Yanqing was too strong. Lan Yunfei was no match for him even before his bloodline was activated. Other than Qiu Chongkong, when did the Blazing Sun Empire have such a powerful genius? Get down! Xian Yanqing shouted again and pressed his palm down. That huge hand also pressed down at the same time, pressing down towards Lan Yunfei. Lan Yunfei bellowed in anger. He exploded with all his strength and slashed upward. But with a bang, the blade light was instantly destroyed, and the palm pressed down without stopping. Lan Yunfei roared. Buzz! At this moment there was an air-piercing sound at the top of the stairs. A figure rushed up like lightning and arrived in front of Lan Yunfei. He threw a punch upward. Boom! The air wave swept out, and the fist force and palm disappeared. At this time, everyone saw that there was already one more person in front of Lan Yunfei. It's him? Yang 6 Extremes. 33rd on the Cloud Emperor ranking, Yang Liuji from the Bloodjiao Empire's Great Sun sect. Could he be the one Lan Yunfei invited? Upon seeing who it was, the crowd exclaimed in shock once more. It's actually him. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. Back in the ruins of the Cloud Emperor Palace, Lu Ming had fought with Yang Liuji. In the end, Lu Ming defeated Yang Liuji with the help of the golden-eyed blood corpse. Xian Yanqing was also stunned as he also recognized Yang Liuji. On the other hand, Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi's expressions changed drastically. The Scorching Sun Empire and the Bloodjiao Empire were close to each other, and the name of Yang Liuji had long since reverberated in their ears. Brother Yang, you've finally come. Seeing Yang Liuji, Lan Yunfei was overjoyed. Brother Lan, I'm sorry I'm late, Yang Liuji said as he looked around. The moment he saw Xian Yanqing and Lu Ming, he was stunned. Then, his eyes flashed with a cold killing intent. Little bastard, is that you? Haha, good, you've really worn out your iron shoes in a long search, but you found it without any effort. Since I've encountered you today, then don't leave. Yang Liuji revealed a sinister smile. When he came out of the Yun Emperor Palace, he wanted to ask the senior masters of the Great Sun Mansion to kill Lu Ming, but Lu Ming escaped too quickly. He searched around the Yun Emperor Palace but could not find Lu Ming. During this period of time, he hated Lu Ming to the core. He did not expect to meet him here. He was so ecstatic that he almost laughed out loud. What's wrong? You've been defeated, are you looking for a beating again? Lu Ming said indifferently. The crowd was stunned. From Lu Ming's tone, could it be that Yang Liuji had lost to Lu Ming before? No way. If that was the case, wasn't the Burning Sun Empire a little too terrifying? Nonsense, you little bastard. Back then, you only relied on external forces and a puppet. Now that your puppet is gone, I'll kill you in 3 moves. Yang Liuji shouted and hurriedly corrected Lu Ming's words. The others came to a realization. It turned out that Lu Ming had relied on external forces. No wonder. It was useless if it was not one's own ability. They let out a long breath. If even a small empire like the Burning Sun Empire was this strong, how could they bear it? Kill me in 3 moves? Just you? Aren't you afraid of laughing your head off? Lu Ming continued to say indifferently. This kind of indifferent attitude made Yang Liuji's anger rise. You're looking for death. You're courting death. Yang Liuji roared, his body emitting a scorching aura that made the restaurant look like a furnace. Xian Yanqing moved and stood in front of Yang Liuji. Little Qing, there's no need for you to deal with him. Let me play with him. Lu Ming picked up a glass of wine and finished it in one gulp. He then stood up and walked towards Yang Liuji. Hurry up and finish it. We haven't finished our meal. Xian Yanqing glanced at Lu Ming and went back to his seat. His tone was casual, as if Lu Ming could easily deal with Yang Liuji. This caused the surrounding people to be dumbfounded. Haha. I know you're concerned about me and worried that the food won't taste good if it's cold. Don't worry, I'll deal with him. The food won't get cold. Lu Ming laughed. The other's lips trembled. These two were both more confident than the other. They were still thinking about eating, and the dishes wouldn't even get cold. Please, your opponent is the genius on the Cloud Emperor ranking, Yang Liuji, not some random cat or dog on the side of the road. Crazy, too crazy. Yang Liuji almost vomited blood, feeling his heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys throb in pain. He took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. It's useless to rely on your mouth. You'll soon pay the price for your stupidity. Yang Liuji roared, and the scorching aura around his body became even more intense. His entire body was like a sun, and he almost set the restaurant on fire. This place is too narrow, let's go out and fight. Lu Ming said. Good. Just what I want. Yang Liuji shouted angrily. The two of them flew out of the window and appeared in the sky above the small lake. At this time, it had already alerted the people on the other floors of the restaurant, and they all looked out one by one. That's Yang Liuji. Yang Liuji is going to fight someone. Who is the other person? Is he also a genius on the Cloud Emperor ranking? No, there's no such person on the Cloud Emperor ranking. He's so young, he looks less than 20 years old. This person actually dared to fight Yang Liuji. This is going to be a good show. The people on the other floors of the restaurant were discussing. Die. An NBSP kill. The moment they left the restaurant, Yang Liuji roared, his aura exploding. Wuzong 5 Dan Peak. Obviously, Yang Liuji's cultivation had also improved during this period of time. Back in the ruins of the Cloud Emperor Palace, Yang Liuji's cultivation was only at the early stage of the 5th level of Martial Ancestor Realm. Boom! The powerful fire force exploded, making Yang Liuji look like a small sun. It emitted an extremely hot aura, and the lake water below began to boil, filling the air with mist. Divine Sun Fist! Yang Liuji roared and threw a punch at Lu Ming. Chapter 358. 358 Settling it in one move. A fist radiance that was as bright as the sun was aimed at Lu Ming. Oh! Lu Ming struck out with his palm and a huge palm print appeared, clashing with the fist radiance. After a loud boom, the fist radiance and palm print dissipated. One move. Lu Ming muttered. Didn't Yang Liuji say he would kill him in 3 moves? He helped him calculate. Yang Liuji's expression changed. Lu Ming could actually block one of his moves. His gaze turned serious. Fist of the Great Divine Sun. Fist radiance shatters the sky. Yang Liuji roared again and threw a punch. This punch was even more terrifying. It was like a sun falling down. Yang Liuji, who had reached the peak of the 5th stage of martial arts Grandmaster realm, had extremely terrifying combat power. An ordinary warrior at the peak of the 7th stage of martial arts Grandmaster realm would probably only have this kind of combat power. Beast Palm. Lu Ming struck out another palm. A huge beast claw appeared and grabbed at the sun-like fist energy. The sun-like fist force was like a pitiful little flame that was extinguished by the beast's claw. 2 moves. Lu Ming said again. The people watching the battle were stunned, especially those on the 5th floor. Lu Ming could actually fight with Yang Liuji. This was too unbelievable. The Blazing Sun Empire was too terrifying. Experts were emerging one after another. Arg! Damn it! Divine Fist of the Great Sun, incinerating the world. Yang Liuji roared in anger and used his strongest move. At the same time, his bloodline power exploded. His bloodline was also at the second level of the king tier. Walala! The lake water below churned and actually boiled. A shocking fist radiance came crashing down on Lu Ming from above. Break! Lu Ming said softly. A long spear appeared in his hand and he thrust it upward. Chi-chi! The long spear pierced through Yang Liuji's fist radiance. Lu Ming's body rushed past it and flew into the sky. 3 moves, Yang Liuji, you said you'd kill me in 3 moves, but it turns out that you want to kill me with just the power to scratch an itch? What a joke! Lu Ming said contemptuously. Damn it! Damn it! How did this little bastard become so strong? How is that possible? Yang Liuji roared in his heart, his expression extremely ugly. He stared at Lu Ming and said coldly, I'll let you go today and we'll fight another day. With that, she wanted to leave. Another day? Did I say another day? You want to leave after a fight? How can there be such a good thing in the world? Stay here. Lu Ming said coldly. A terrifying aura enveloped Yang Liuji. What do you want to do? Do you still want to make a move on me? How dare you? I'm a disciple of the Great Sun Mansion, do you understand? I'm a disciple of the Great Sun Mansion. Yang Liuji roared. And NBSP, you don't need to repeat that you are a disciple of Great Sun Prefecture. Great Sun Prefecture is none of my business. I don't care where you are from. Just take one of my attacks and you'll die. Lu Ming bellowed. His aura was wild as he pulled the long spear downward. Boom! A spear light that was hundreds of meters long, carrying the power of wind and fire, came down on Yang Liuji. While the spear radiance was still in the air, the lake below was suppressed by the force of the air. The lake water split into 2, and a waterless zone that was a few hundred meters long appeared. It had the same shape as the spear radiance. You coward! Ah! Yang Liuji roared and used all his strength to punch the air a dozen times in an attempt to block the spear radiance. However, it was useless. The dozen or so fistlights were like fireworks and collapsed in one strike. The spear radiance's momentum did not stop as it heavily smashed into Yang Liuji's body. Yang Liuji's body was like a cannonball, falling towards the lake. Boom! He fell heavily into the lake, causing huge waves. Even the ground shook, and a whirlpool appeared on the surface of the lake. Everyone saw that Yang Liuji had smashed a deep hole in the bottom of the lake, and the lake water had completely flooded Yang Liuji. This fuck! The surrounding spectators were all dumbfounded. And NBSP, this was too violent. He had defeated Yang Liuji with one move and Yang Liuji had no chance to fight back. Especially the spectators on the 5th level. Their mouths were so wide open that they could practically swallow a chicken. This is crazy. The Burning Sun Empire is crazy. How can there be so many talented warriors? That's right. The Burning Sun Empire has always been ranked at the bottom of the list. It's unbelievable that so many geniuses have been born. The people on the 5th floor shouted in disbelief. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure rushed into the lake and came out again the next moment. It was Lan Yunfei. He was holding Yang Liuji in his arms. Yang Liuji's body was covered in blood, and his face was pale. Blood was dripping from his mouth, and his eyes were full of disbelief, shame, and anger. Previously, he had boasted shamelessly that he would kill Lu Ming in 3 moves. In the end, Lu Ming easily received his 3 moves. Not only that, but he had also beaten him half to death in 1 move. This made him want to find a hole to hide in. If you don't have the strength, then keep a low profile. Don't always act like you're the best in the world. It's embarrassing. This time I'll teach you a lesson. Get lost. Lu Ming waved his hand, as if an elder was lecturing a junior. You win. Yang Liuji was so furious that he spat out another mouthful of blood. Lu Ming, don't be so arrogant. You'd better not run into my big brother during the Detian Divine Guard selection. Otherwise, you'll die an ugly death. Let's go. Lan Yunfei roared in anger. Then his figure soared into the sky. Lu Ming smiled and did not mind. He returned to the restaurant in a flash. Come, let's continue eating. Lu Ming laughed and sat down to eat and drink again. The rest of the people in the restaurant were dumbfounded. Brother Lu, we must guard against the big brother that Lan Yunfei spoke of. Feng Wuji's face turned solemn. That's right, the 5th-rank genius on the Cloud Emperor board also has the surname Lan. His name is Lan Yundao. I'm pretty sure he's Lan Yunfei's big brother. Ling Yanqi's expression was also serious. Although Lu Ming's combat strength was strong, they did not think that Lu Ming could be a match for those who were ranked at the top of the Cloud Emperor ranking. Those people were too powerful. They were all monsters. 5th on the Cloud Emperor ranking. Lu Ming's eyes flickered and his lips curled into a smile. He did not mind and continued to eat and drink. After a short while, the 4 of them left the restaurant and found an inn to stay in. There were still 3 days before the Ditian Divine Guard's preliminary competition. At this moment, news of Xian Yanqing, Lu Ming, Lan Yunfei, and Yang Liuji's battle spread quickly. Many people were shocked and secretly sighed. There were so many geniuses these days, and yet another unknown genius had risen. In a room in the inn, Lu Ming sat cross-legged and thought about the battle. Speaking of which, this was the first time that Lu Ming had a direct battle with a genius on the Cloud Emperor ranking. Although he appeared confident on the surface, he did not dare to underestimate his opponent. Yang Liuji was only ranked 33rd on the Cloud Emperor list, but his cultivation had already reached the peak of the 5th stage of Martial Ancestor realm. His combat strength was comparable to an ordinary peak of the 7th stage of Martial Ancestor realm. In that case, how strong were the geniuses at the top of the rankings? Especially the geniuses in the top 10, how strong were they? Lu Ming did not dare to underestimate his opponent. My biggest disadvantage now is that my cultivation is low. I'm only at the peak of the 4th level of the Martial Ancestor realm. I have to find a way to break through as soon as possible. Lu Ming pondered secretly. After a few months of polishing, Lu Ming's foundation had long been stable. As long as there was enough energy, Lu Ming's cultivation would be able to break through. Myriad Paths of the Dragon Emperor. Chapter 359. 359 The Gathering of Geniuses. Lu Ming immediately circulated the True War Dragon technique and began to temper his essential qi. Oh! A day passed in the blink of an eye. On the evening of the 2nd day, the people from the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace actually came to find them. They had sent an invitation letter for the Ditian Divine Guard selection. It was for Xian Yanqing. It seemed that the news of Xian Yanqing's defeat of Lan Yunfei yesterday had already spread to the higher-ups of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. That was why they had sent an invitation letter. With Xian Yanqing's combat strength, he was fully qualified to receive an invitation. The next 2 days were peaceful and no one disturbed Lu Ming and the rest. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the Ditian Divine Guard's preliminary round. The Ditian Divine Guard preliminaries were to select a group of elites from the geniuses who had received invitations from the 36 countries of Emperor Yun. Only this group of people would be qualified to participate in the final selection of the Ditian Divine Guards. The gathering place for the preliminaries was in front of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's residence in the Cloud Desolate Imperial Capital. Early in the morning, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Feng Wuji, and Ling Yanqi headed to the assembly point. The Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's residence in the Cloud Desolate Empire's imperial capital was extremely grand and majestic. It was even more majestic than the Cloud Desolate Imperial Palace. In front of the mansion there was a wide square. When Lu Ming and the rest arrived, the square was already surrounded by people. Most of them were people who came to watch the show. However, there were not many people in the square. This was because there were people from the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace guarding the square. Only the geniuses participating in the preliminaries could step on it. If anyone else were to step in rashly and was discovered, they would be killed without mercy. No one dared to take the risk. When the 4 of them arrived, they walked directly to the square. Guys, look, there's a genius from the preliminaries here. 2 of them look so young. Which empire are they from? I don't know him, he's a complete stranger. I know. I saw them a few days ago. The youngest man and woman are the 2 who defeated Yang Liuji and Lan Yunfei 3 days ago. They are the geniuses from the Burning Sun Empire. The surrounding crowd was discussing when someone suddenly shouted. What? Them just like the rumors they're really that young. I thought the rumors were exaggerated. I can't believe that the Blazing Sun Empire has produced such a genius. In the past few days, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's names had spread throughout the Cloud Wilderness imperial capital. Many people were very curious and they looked at Lu Ming and the other three. The four of them had also seen big scenes before, so their expressions didn't change. They walked to the square and stood at the side. It seems that we came too early. Feng Wuji chuckled. It's a good opportunity for me to meet the other geniuses. Ling Yanqi's eyes were filled with excitement. Time slowly passed and more people came. Without a doubt, they were all young people, all under the age of 30. Most of them were in their 20s, and there were very few under the age of 20. Look, that's Lu Xiaofeng, who is ranked 35th on the Cloud Emperor ranking list. Suddenly, someone pointed at a yellow-robed young man and shouted. Also, that's Wang Kai, who is ranked 26th on the Cloud Emperor board. Oh my god, that's Su Yingying, who is ranked 13th on the Cloud Emperor board. I've long heard that Su Yingying is a devastatingly beautiful woman. Now that I've seen her today, I see that she is indeed worthy of her reputation. With the arrival of the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor ranking list, the audience was excited. The 36 countries of Emperor Yun were vast, but there were only 36 people on the Emperor Yun list. Usually, the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor ranking were scattered all over the place. It was hard to see them at all. But now they had seen so many people at once and everyone was excited. Even Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi's eyes lit up as they started to size up the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor board. Soon, no less than 300 people had gathered in the square, and the number was still increasing. This made Lu Ming sigh with emotion. Only geniuses on the same level as the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun could receive an invitation. However, hundreds of such geniuses had arrived. Lu Ming suddenly felt a murderous intent enveloping him. He could not help but turn around to look. The corners of his mouth curled into a faint smile. So it was the 6 extremes of Yang. After not seeing him for a few days, Yang Liuji's injuries had almost recovered. He was looking at Lu Ming with a cold gaze. Beside Yang Liuji was a tall young man. He was wearing the same clothes as Yang Liuji, and was obviously from the Bloodjiao's Great Sun House. He was also staring at Lu Ming with an unfriendly look. Yang Liuji is here. The one beside him, is he the #1 expert among the younger generation of the Great Sun House, Yin Feishuan? It's definitely him. Yin Feishuan, ranked 9th on the Cloud Emperor ranking list. Exclamations of shock came from the surroundings. The top 10 geniuses on the Cloud Emperor ranking list had finally appeared. It was as if Yin Feishuan's arrival was the start of the event that had happened 10 days ago. In the air, a blue light flashed and 2 figures appeared in the square. One of the 2 blue-robed young men was Lan Yunfei. The other man was tall and had a saber on his back. He had a wild aura. Lan Yunfei and Lan Yundao. The 5th-ranked Lan Yundao has arrived. There was another round of exclamations in the surroundings. As soon as Lan Yunfei and Lan Yundao arrived, they swept their gazes across the surroundings. In the next moment they discovered Lu Ming and the rest. The 2 of them strode toward Lu Ming and the rest. There's a good show to watch. The crowd's gaze was fixed on Lan Yundao and Lu Ming. The geniuses on the square were also watching with interest. Very soon, Lan Yunfei and Lan Yundao were not far from Lu Ming and the rest. You two are Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Lan Yundao's gaze fell on Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. He did not hide the murderous intent in his eyes. That's right. I didn't expect to be so famous now. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not care. Xian Yanqing pouted and didn't even bother to reply. Seeing this, Lan Yundao's face darkened and he said coldly, "You dare to beat up my Blue Blade family's people, you're really bold. However, those who dared to beat up my Blue Blade family's people are no longer in this world." Oh really? Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue when you talk big? The world is so big and there are so many experts. There are also many people who can destroy your family with a flick of their hands. You even said that the people who dared to attack your Blue Blade family are no longer in this world. You really have no shame in talking big. Lu Ming said indifferently, his voice full of ridicule. What did you just say? Lan Yundao was furious. Brother Lan, there's no need to waste words with them. Just attack and kill them. At this moment, Yin Feishuan walked over and said with a murderous look. You want to kill me? Why don't you try? Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent and a powerful aura rose from his body. Xian Yanqing, Feng Wuji, and Ling Yanqi walked to Lu Ming's side and glared at Yin Feishuan, Lan Yundao, and the rest. The battle was about to begin. This place doesn't allow a great battle. Anyone who violates this rule will be killed. Suddenly, a middle-aged man shouted loudly, and a mountain-like pressure rose from his body. This burly man was a guard of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. Lan Yundao and Yin Feishuan's expressions changed and they withdrew their qi. Lu Ming and the group also retracted their aura. I'll let you off today. Lu Ming. I hope you can pass the preliminaries smoothly. At that time, I'll let you know the consequences of offending the Blue Blade family in the Detian Divine Guard selection. Lan Yundao said coldly before he turned around and left with Lan Yunfei. Chapter 360. 360 Chapter 360 Sword Wind Cloud. Yin Feishuan and Yang Liuji glared at Lu Ming coldly before turning to leave. Oh, Miss Ye, Brother Lu, you must be careful. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi were extremely worried. It's fine. Lu Ming smiled slightly, his expression relaxed. Xian Yanqing, on the other hand, was expressionless. Buzz, buzz. At this moment, another sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Zhou Chongkong is here. And the strongest dark horse, Prince Hualing. Someone shouted. Lu Ming looked up and saw a few figures flying down from the sky. One of them was very young, about 21 or 22 years old. He wore a fiery red robe and had eyes like lightning. He had a powerful aura and his hands were behind his back. This man must be young Master Hualing. The other person had a sword on his back. If he wasn't Zhou Chongkong, who else could he be? Zhou Chongkong's eyes were filled with killing intent the moment he saw Lu Ming. Lu Ming, I don't know how you got the invitation. You could have lived a little longer if you didn't participate in the Detian Divine Guard selection. Now that you're here, you're just looking for death. After the preliminaries, it'll be your death when the real selection competition begins. Zhou Chongkong's eyes were cold as he kept thinking. Naturally, he had heard of the news that Lu Ming had defeated Yang Liuji. First, he was extremely shocked. They were shocked by Lu Ming's invitation and his ability. However, he was only a little shocked at the beginning and did not have any fear. He had 10% confidence that he could kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming looked at Zhou Chongkong, his eyes filled with killing intent. He had to kill Zhou Chongkong. Lu Yuntian's 8 years of torture were all thanks to Zhou Chongkong. Buzz, buzz. The sound of air being torn could be heard from time to time as people kept coming. Not long after, Zhang Hongwen, who was ranked 3rd on the Cloud Emperor ranking, and young Master Tianxi, who was ranked 2nd, arrived together, pushing the atmosphere to a climax. Young Master Tianxi was wearing a green robe. His face was gloomy and his eyes were cold. He was like a venomous snake that was about to devour people. Anyone who was targeted by him would feel a chill. Zhang Hongwen was tall and had a majestic and domineering aura, which was the complete opposite of young Master Tianxi. Up until now, there were nearly 600 people in the square. Each and every one of them was a dragon among men and had extraordinary auras. When they were gathered together, it was extremely spectacular. Jian Fengyun isn't here yet, could he be dead? He. Suddenly a cold voice was heard. It was young Master Tianxi. Everyone couldn't help but look at him. How could Jian Fengyun die if you, a venomous snake, didn't die? Not far away, Zhang Hongwen sneered. Many people's expressions changed slightly. There were not many people on the Cloud Emperor list who dared to speak to young Master Tianxi in such a manner. Lan Yundao was ranked 5th and was arrogant. However, in front of young Master Tianxi, he had to be obedient. I heard that Jian Fengyun went to another region for training. It's normal for him to die outside. Young Master Tianxi smiled sinisterly. Jian Fengyun was the #1 genius on Emperor Yun's board, and the top expert among the younger generation in Emperor Yun's 36 kingdoms. Haha, Wei Tianxi. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. At this time a loud laugh came from the distance. Whoosh! A sword light cut through the air at an unbelievable speed. He was clearly 10 miles away a moment ago, but in the next moment he was already in the sky above the square. The sword light dispersed and a young figure appeared. He was about 24 or 25 years old, wearing a long gray robe. He had a slender figure and bright eyes. He looked like an unsheathed divine sword. The most eye-catching part was the long scar on his face, which looked very ferocious. Jian Fengyun, you're finally here. Young Master Tianxi's eyes moved, revealing a trace of solemnness. He was Jian Fengyun, who was ranked first on the Cloud Emperor board. There was a burst of excited discussion. Why was there a scar on Jian Fengyun's face? I didn't have it before. Who is so powerful that he could leave a scar on Jian Fengyun's face? Whispers could be heard from nearby. Wei Tianxi, I'm here. Are you very disappointed? Jian Fengyun looked at young Master Tianxi and said, What's there to be disappointed about? You've come at the right time. This time, I'm going to defeat you completely. Young Master Tianxi sneered. Then his eyes flickered and he said, Jian Fengyun, I heard that you went to another region for training. You've been injured by someone. This is too embarrassing. What's there to be embarrassed about? I was injured by the geniuses there when I was training in the Thousand River region. I have to tell you that the geniuses from other regions are far stronger than those in the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Jian Fengyun said frankly. This made young Master Tianxi, Zhang Hongwan, and the other geniuses' faces turn grave. Jian Fengyun, what's your ranking in the Thousand River region? Young Master Tianxi asked. 18th place. Jian Fengyun said word by word. What? As soon as he said that, the entire place was in an uproar. The number 1 genius of the Cloud Emperor mountain range was defeated by the number 18 genius of the Thousand River water region, and had a scar on his face. How was this possible? Was the Thousand River region really that powerful? Haha, Jian Fengyun, in my opinion it's not that the opponent is too strong. It's that you're too weak. It seems that you've regressed in the past few years. This time I'll surpass you completely. Young Master Tianxi laughed out loud. He didn't believe that the Thousand River region was that powerful. If the 18th place could defeat Jian Fengyun, didn't that mean that there were at least 18 geniuses who were above him, young Master Tianxi? This was only the waters of the Thousand Rivers. What about the regions? With young Master Tianxi's pride, he would never believe that so many geniuses would surpass him. He thought that Jian Fengyun was too weak to move forward. Many people also secretly nodded, and were more willing to believe young Master Tianxi's words. Frog in the well. Jian Fengyun smiled faintly and did not bother to say anything else. Young Master Tianxi snorted coldly and stood at the side. By now, the number of people had reached 600. Ka. At this moment, the gate of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace opened, and a few figures walked out. The leader of the group was an old man with white hair and wearing a black robe. The old man had a kind expression on his face. There was no aura fluctuation on his body, as if he was an ordinary person who had not cultivated. However, no one dared to underestimate him because he was a member of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. Seems that everyone is here. Let me introduce myself. My name is Wuxia, and I'm the host of this preliminaries. I'll also be leading you to the real selection later. The old man introduced himself. Greetings, Senior Lu. The geniuses on the square all saluted. Wuxia nodded. All right, let's cut the chit-chat and come with me. This isn't the venue for the preliminaries. After saying that, Wuxia rose into the air and flew towards the north. The participating geniuses on the square also rose into the air and followed. Lu Ming and the other 3 were mixed in the crowd and did not stand out. The people around the square sighed and felt it was a pity. He would not be able to see the exciting content after that. Chapter 361. 361 Chapter 361 Measuring the Power. The group headed north. A group of 600 over people flying above the cloud-desolate empire's imperial capital. It was a spectacular sight. Oh. Their target was a mountain peak to the north of the imperial capital. The distance of 100 miles was covered in an instant. Lucio led the group to a flat land in front of the two mountains. Alright, I'll first tell you the rules of the preliminaries. The preliminaries are actually very simple. It's split into 2 rounds. The first round is to test one's aura. I'll test the level of your comprehension of force. Those who haven't reached major accomplishment will be eliminated. Lucio announced. What? He's going to be eliminated before his force is fully formed? Someone cried out in extreme disappointment. Good, you see the stone pillar in front, right? It's the treasure to test force. As long as you input force into this stone pillar, it will appear in different colors. They are divided into blue, purple, asylavir, and gold, corresponding to the entry level of force, small success, large success, and perfection. Only when the stone pillar appears asylavir will it be considered a pass. Now begin, Lucio announced. Lu Ming and the rest nodded. This rule was simple. I'll go first. A skinny young man took the lead and walked out with great confidence. He walked in front of the stone pillar and struck out with his palm. A powerful wind force surged out of his palm and poured into the stone pillar. Instantly, the stone pillar emitted a faint asylavir light, beautiful and magnificent. Wind force, early stage of major accomplishment. Pass. Next, Lucio announced. Naturally, there were people registering at the side. I'll do it. A strong young man walked out and a strong aura poured into the stone pillar. The stone pillar immediately emitted a asylavir light, which was darker than the youth's. Force of earth, mid-stage of great completion. Pass. Next, Lucio announced. Then one by one the young men stepped forward to take the test. These young men had all reached the peak level of their control force. Some of them were at the early stage of the peak level, some were at the middle stage, and only a few of them had reached the late stage. Those youths who had not reached the level of great accomplishment did not even step forward to take the test. I'm going too. I'll go with you. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi also went up for the test. Feng Wuji had comprehended the force of wind and reached the early stage of the Deshang realm. Ling Yanqi had comprehended the force of fire and reached the middle stage of the Deshang realm. Soon more than 400 people passed the test. For geniuses at the level of the Scorching Sun's 6 heroes, most of them had already reached the major accomplishment stage. Of course, there were also a few who did not reach that level. However, not a single person had reached the peak of Sure. Although there was only one step between the great completion and great perfection of control force, the difference was huge. One was flawed while the other was perfect. The difference in power was several times. Yang Liuji has entered the arena. Many people's eyes lit up. Up until now, no one from the Cloud Emperor ranking had entered the arena. They wanted to see how far the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor ranking could go. Yang Liuji walked up to the stone pillar, his entire body exuding a burning aura. With a wave of his hand, Sure poured into the stone pillar. Buzz! The stone pillar trembled, and an extremely dense asylavir light spread out, making the entire stone pillar look as if it was made of pure asylavir. Force of fire, the limit of large success. Lucio announced. The limit of the upper tier was just one step away from the Great Circle. This was the first person who had reached the peak of Sure. Lu Ming's gaze was calm. He was not surprised at all. He had fought with Yang Liuji before, so he was very clear about the strength of Yang Liuji's force. Yang Liuji's appearance opened the prologue to the appearance of the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor list. Then, one by one, the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor list appeared. However, it was a pity that most of the geniuses on the Cloud Emperor list had only reached the limit of the upper tier. There were even a few people who were only at the late stage of the Deshang realm, and none of them had reached the perfection realm. Even those ranked in the top 10 on the Cloud Emperor ranking were only at the limit of the great completion. It's the Fire Spirit Prince's turn. Someone shouted. Young Master Hualing strode forward with a cold and arrogant expression, but he was only at the peak of the profound level. Following that, Qiu Chongkong, Yan Feishuan and Lan Yundao stepped forward one by one. Unfortunately, none of them had reached the peak of their astral force. From this, one could see how difficult it was to reach perfection. I'm going to take the test. Do you want to come with me? Xian Yanqing glanced at Lu Ming. All right. Lu Ming nodded. The two of them stepped forward and attracted a lot of attention. Lan Yun said. Yan Feishuan and Qiu Chongkong turned their cold gazes over. I'll go first or you go first. Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming. Anything is fine. Lu Ming said with a smile. Then you go first. Xian Yanqing said. Lu Ming stepped forward. A scorching aura burst out from his body. The power of the fire surged into the stone pillar, and it turned pure Asilavira immediately. The force of fire is at the limit of perfection, Lu Xiu announced. Many people were not too surprised. Since Lu Ming could defeat Yang Liuji, his comprehension of force would naturally not be bad. It was normal for him to reach the limit of large success. Lu Ming smiled and took a few steps back. During this period of time, he had cultivated the force of fire to the limit of large success, but it was difficult to break through to perfection. As for wind force, it had also reached the limit of the small success stage and was about to break through to the large success stage. Lu Ming believed that the power of the fusion of the two types of Shi would not be inferior to that of a perfected Shi. Lu Ming retreated while Xian Yanqing stepped forward. Boom! All of a sudden, a terrifying aura erupted from Xian Yanqing's body as he was surrounded by a green light. Who? This was the force of the wind. The powerful force of the wind gushed into the stone pillar. Buzz! The stone pillar began to shake violently. In the next moment, golden rays of light began to spread out. Golden light, it's golden light! Someone shouted. Perfect force. This woman has already cultivated her force to perfect force. How terrifying. What a monster. Why haven't I heard of him before? The surroundings were filled with clamors and cries of alarm. Lu Ming was stunned as well, then he sighed. A 7th-level king-level blood meridian was indeed terrifying. Even his comprehension of force was unique. Yan Feishuan, Lan Yundao, and Qiu Chongkong's eyes were filled with killing intent. Jian Fengyun, young Master Tianxi, and Zhang Hongwen's eyes lit up. Especially young Master Tianxi, who was staring at Xian Yanqing with greed and lust in his eyes. Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi's mouths were wide open in shock. Wind force perfect, good. Lu Xiu laughed heartily. The stronger the geniuses in the Cloud Emperor mountain range, the more contribution he would make and the corresponding rewards would be given. Naturally, he was happy. Humph. Xian Yanqing retracted his essential qi and walked to Lu Ming's side. He pursed his lips provocatively as if to say, Do you see that? I'm stronger than you. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and touched his nose. Next. Lu Xiu shouted. I'll do it. Zhang Hongwen strode forward, waved his hand, and a force landed on the stone pillar. The stone pillar trembled, and then it also emitted a golden light. Force perfection. I'll do it. Then young Master Tianxi stepped forward. His body trembled slightly, and a long snake-like force slammed into the stone pillar. The next moment, golden light filled the air. Oh, it's your turn. Young Master Tianxi looked at Jian Fengyun. Jian Fengyun smiled. He didn't move, but 2 sword lights shot out from his eyes. This was a sword light condensed from Shi, and it landed on the stone pillar. The stone pillar trembled violently and emitted a rich golden light. Similarly, force perfection. Only 4 people Shi had reached perfection. They were Jian Fengyun, young Master Tianxi, Zhang Hongwen, and the rising star Xian Yanqing. Chapter 362. 362 10,000 Illusionary Killing Array. Next, who else is going to take the test? Oh. Lu Xiu looked at the remaining 60-odd people. These 60-over people had been standing still the entire time, clearly not confident in themselves. At this moment, all of them had ugly expressions and were hesitating. If you don't come up, you'll be disqualified and eliminated. Lu Xiu announced. I'll do it. Finally, someone went up and decided to give it a try. Unfortunately, Shi was only at the limit of the initial success stage and had not yet reached the major success stage. It was mercilessly eliminated. Following that, a few more people came forward with a fluke mind, but they were all eliminated one by one. The rest of the people shook their heads and sighed. No one continued to test because there was no need. They knew best whether their control force had reached large success or not. Alright, those who were eliminated, leave this place. Those who succeeded, follow me into Myriad Illusion Canyon. Wuxia shouted. Those who had been eliminated sighed and soared into the air, ending the selection of the Detian Divine Guards. Alright, follow me, Wuxia said, then turned around and walked back. 10,000 Illusion Canyon was in the middle of the two mountain peaks. That place was heavily guarded. As he followed Wuxia, he was not obstructed by any obstacles and entered the canyon. The canyon was very wide, at least 1,000 meters wide, and on both sides were cliffs that were thousands of feet tall. In front of the canyon, there was a huge light screen that separated the canyon. Behind the light screen it was all blurry and he could not see anything clearly. Behind this layer of light is a large inscription array, called the 10,000 Illusionary Killing Array. The second round of the preliminaries will be carried out in this 10,000 Illusionary Killing Array. As long as you enter the 10,000 Illusionary Killing Array, powerful warriors or demonic beasts will be condensed inside. As long as you kill the warriors or demonic beasts inside, you will be able to obtain the corresponding points. The two stone tablets in front of the 10,000 Illusionary Killing Array will show your points and ranking. Only those who have scored 500 points will be considered to have passed and be able to participate in the true selection of the Emperor Sky Divine Guards. The time limit is only half an hour. Once the time is up, you will be automatically transported out. This standard is the same in many regions in the eastern part of the Tianxian region. Wuxia briefly introduced the rules of the second round. Sure enough, in front of the light curtain, they saw two huge stone tablets that were 100 meters tall and dozens of meters wide. Alright, the rules are very simple. Next, it will depend on your strength. The 10,000 Illusionary Killing Formation can allow 50 people to enter at a time. You can make your own choice. We can start now, Wuxia announced. As soon as Wuxia finished speaking, everyone looked at each other. Then, someone strode out and walked towards the 10,000 Illusionary Killing Array. With someone taking the lead, the others naturally followed one by one. In a short while, 50 people had rushed into the 10,000 Illusionary Killing Array. When the 50 people rushed into the Myriad Illusionary Killing Array, the two stone tablets in front of them started to emit a hazy light. After a few breaths, a few lines of words appeared on the first stone tablet. Wasp 1 point. Long Mao 1 point. 7 to 8 names appeared in succession, and behind the names were the corresponding points. After a few more breaths, some people's points went from 1 to 2 and then to 3. More and more names appeared on the stone tablet. 2 minutes later, 50 names appeared on the stone tablet, and behind each name was the corresponding score. Some people's points increased very quickly, while some people's points increased much slower. After a while, someone had already reached 400 points, approaching 500. As long as they reached 500 points, they would be able to pass the preliminaries and obtain the qualifications to participate in the true selection. At this moment, the light screen trembled, and someone flew out from inside. Everyone could see that wounds had appeared on this person's body, and blood was dripping. Everyone's heart trembled. It seemed that this formation was not that safe. After this person flew out, his name disappeared from the first stone tablet. This person looked defeated. Clearly he had failed. After this person, the light screen would shake from time to time, and people would constantly fly out. Without a doubt, none of these people who flew out had 500 points. They all ended in failure. When the half an hour was about to end, 47 people had already flown out, and none of these 47 people had reached 500 points. Only the last 3 people who flew out had more than 500 points. The highest score was 553 points. When the last 3 people came out, the second stone tablet lit up and 3 names appeared. First place, Hornets, 553 points. Second place. The 3 names were those who had reached 500 points. These 3 were naturally overjoyed, while the other 47 people had unsightly expressions and were extremely dejected. The rest of the people who had not entered looked extremely serious. The elimination rate was too high. Out of the 50 people, 47 people were eliminated, and only 3 passed. Although there weren't any impressive geniuses in this group, the elimination rate still made people gasp. Alright, the first group has finished. Next group, continue, Wuxia announced. But everyone looked at each other, and for a moment, no one stepped forward. Hurry up. The result will be the same in the morning and at night. It won't be easier to get up at night. Wuxia frowned. What's there to hesitate about? I'll go. Yang Liuji coldly snorted and strode forward. After that, one figure after another also walked forward. 50 people disappeared from the light screen. A breath after he entered the light screen, a name suddenly appeared on the first stone tablet. Yang 6 Extremes. After that, Yang Liuji's points started to soar. 12510. The speed at which his points rose was terrifying. In just 5 minutes, his points had already exceeded 500 and were still rising. The others were much slower than him. Yang Liuji's points only started to slow down when he reached 1,000 points. At this moment the light screen trembled again, and someone flew out from inside. Soon half an hour had passed and everyone in the group had come out. This time there were a total of 6 people who had more than 500 points and passed the preliminaries. The names of these 6 people also appeared on the second stone tablet. Including the 3 people before them, there were a total of 9 names on the second stone tablet. On the other hand, Yang Liuji had obtained a total of 1210 points, ranking first. Yang Liuji had a smug expression as he walked to the side. After that, the third group of 50 people entered. This time 5 people passed. In this group, there was also a genius on the Cloud Emperor ranking. This person was slightly stronger than Yang Liuji, and had 22 points more than him. He rushed to the first place while Yang Liuji became second. Then the fourth group, the fifth group. Group by group they went in. The further they went, the more experts went in and the more qualified people there were. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.